Over the weekend, the Trump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelans that it says are gang members.
Yeah, we're going to obviously start off on our news coverage with the Burger Reich. It is upon us. It is here. Very much so. It is incredibly damaging. The Alien Enemies Act is being used for the first time ever in U.S. history when there is no active war happening. This is devastating for many different reasons, but it is one of the darker chapters of American history when we had Japanese internment camps here in the United States of America, as you guys might recall, during World War II. Instead of learning from those lessons and vowing to never repeat them again, Donald Trump has now decided to use that same act, this time against Venezuelans that he actually brought here, Venezuelans that had to escape Venezuela as a direct consequence of the sanctions regime that he implemented against Venezuela, and then also offered temporary protected status to. Donald Trump was such a fan of TPS that he actually offered an extension on the TPS, temporary protected status, that he had afforded to the Venezuelan migrants coming in from Venezuela, the refugees, on his way out. Now, 4 years after that fact, when he's back in office, he's back with a vengeance. He's now decided that if you are of Venezuelan descent in the United States of America with a temporary protected status, which means proper documentation, mind you, as a refugee, he will revoke it. He will treat you as a hostile enemy combatant, and he will falsely smear you and claim that you are a part of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. And even if judges decide that this is illegal and try to hit a TRO, temporary restraining order, to stop the administration from falsely shipping Venezuelans, not to Guantanamo Bay this time, but instead to the COT facility in El Salvador, which is a direct concentration camp, the Trump administration will still follow through. They do not care. It is a new era of fascism. Earlier this morning, I said, I think that an even darker chapter of American history might be upon us. People might turn around and say, what do you mean, Hassan? America was founded on indigenous genocide. America was founded on ethnic cleansing and upholding chattel slavery. America was built on white supremacist slavery. You're right. And yet I still think that this next chapter in our history might be even darker than that. Truly. Because it kind of feels like we are moving in to the new fascist movement here in the United States of America, like straight Nazi Germany. We have a lot more technological prowess to be able to engage in industrialized death, and we are officially there. Let's take a look.
Over the weekend, the Trump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelans that it says are gang members, despite a judge's order to turn the flights around. The law at issue dates to 1798. A constitutional clash is likely looming. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce is tracking the story. Good morning, Mary.
George, good morning. Well, we are now seeing a real showdown between this administration and the judicial branch. The White House this morning is celebrating this move, insisting the president is acting within his authority to speed up deportations, despite that directive from a federal judge that these Venezuelan immigrants be returned to the U.S. immediately. This morning, hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members are waking up in prison in El Salvador after the Trump administration rapidly deported them, ignoring a federal judge's directive. This video shared by El Salvador's president shows the...
It's sad that we will never ignore injunctions or court orders at the behest of a greater good for the public. Like the what are you going to do about it mentality should have been ever present when the Biden administration was following the letter of the law and using its executive powers to abolish all student loan debt, right? Can't do that. No, we can't do that. Those are institutions that we must defend. Okay, here's how you do it for evil. It only goes in one direction.
The alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang arriving in San Salvador Saturday, just hours after a judge ordered planes carrying the men to immediately...
Yeah, they're doing straightforward Nazi propaganda on this, by the way. They're doing straightforward Nazi propaganda on this. They shave their heads. There is no justification shown whatsoever that any of these people that were targeted and picked up were actually a part of any gang. Even if they were a part of Tren de Aragua, by the way, this kind of Like this right here, what they're doing here is completely unjustifiable. We have due process. You can't do that. Or you must not do that. We're officially in the black bagging stage. ICE comes in, does dragnets, grabs people, claims that they're Tren de Aragua, claims that they're a part of a terror group now, claims that they're a part of a gang engaging in criminal activity, and then ships them to a foreign nation. And we've contracted out, because we outsource everything, we've also outsourced our concentration camp, dude. This is how it happens. For people that wonder, like, how did we get here? How did Nazi Germany become what it was? Like, this is it. You're here. You're watching it happen. You're watching an overseas example in Israel, and you're watching the domestic example here in the United States of America.
We return to the U.S. Trump over the weekend invoking the Alien Enemies Act, an obscure wartime law from 1798, allowing the government to deport non-citizens with little or no due process. The law last used to play a role in the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
I'll simply say they never should have been allowed into our country in the first place. It's our
Trump allowed them into the country. Trump is a major role player in why they had to leave Venezuela. Okay. It's not just about Maduro. You need to understand something. I don't care what like Venezuelans that live here will say over and over again. I don't care what the media says over and over again. Trump and his sanctions regime on Venezuela played a very big role in the Venezuelan economy going tanking even further at a time when they needed aid. Okay. They said Maduro's a bad guy. Fair, sure, whatever. Okay. And use that as a justification to make the economy scream. And the economy did scream. And as a direct consequence of that instability, many Venezuelans escaped Venezuela. They went to Colombia. They went to other Latin American countries. And a lot of them also came to the United States of America. Trump, politically, as he has done in the past, as the American administrations have done in the past with like Cubans who are escaping Cuba, right, offered Venezuelans temporary protective status. He said, you guys are political refugees. We are anti-communist. You are anti-communist. Come to America. We'll use you, right? That's usually the goal for American empire. They bring in a bunch of reactionaries or bring in a bunch of people who are escaping political repression and use them as a propaganda tool. So that's what we did. The American government did that. And in the process, Donald Trump was such a fan of offering temporary protective status to the Venezuelan refugees that came into the United States of America that he actually extended it on his way out. And then Joe Biden became president for 4 years. And now he turned around and is revoking the TPS in this insanely violent manner, deciding that every single Venezuelan on U.S. soil that has documentation, mind you, documented or undocumented, but virtually all of the Venezuelans on U.S. soil are documented. They have the paperwork. They got temporary protective status. Understand that they have the documents. These are not undocumented migrants, okay? They have the documents, or they're in the process of getting their documentation, as in their court documents. The Trump administration turned around and black-bagged a bunch of Venezuelans that they had actually welcomed into U.S. Inside of the U.S. boundaries, and in a pure political ploy, decided to ship them to the El Salvador Anti-Terror Prison Unit, CCOT. We've watched the El Salvador CCOT prison before on this broadcast because a bunch of right-wing Mexican YouTubers went there and glazed Bukele and also the prison structure and talked about how awesome it is that they're like torturing people there. Lights on 24/7. Here we are. Another gross violation of human rights. In El Salvador, we've been under a state of exception since 2021, meaning we have no constitutional rights. People can be jailed without committing a crime or ever seeing a judge. Bukele has shut down all transparency, so any Venezuelan sent here can end up in a concentration camp with no records or oversight. Yes, I know. The prison system in El Salvador right now, due to MS-13 gang activity that was truly violent, okay, which is another American issue that we basically gave to El Salvador but I'm not going to get into the history of that right now. Having said that, because of the massive amounts of crime caused by MS-13, which was born out of the U.S. prison system, where we initially dumped El Salvadoran migrants that became radical in the California prison system. We, without telling the El Salvadoran government, deported those migrants to El Salvador, creating a network, a back and forth for MS-13 to operate. MS-13 became this like incredibly powerful gang as a direct consequence of us deporting El Salvadoran criminals from the California prison system, from MS-13 into El Salvador without informing the government, without telling the El Salvadoran government that these guys were MS-13 gang members. You can say, sure thing, buddy. It's just the truth, okay? It's just the truth. I'm not even talking about Venezuelan gangs right now. I'm talking about MS-13 and how MS-13 became a thing, became like this this internationally renowned gang. I'm not talking about Tren de Aragua. I'm talking about MS-13. Okay? Pick up the pace. Maybe you can accidentally learn a thing or two. So, Nayib Bukele, who initially came into power with a fairly progressive ticket, okay, who had a fairly progressive background. Nayib Bukele is literally of Palestinian descent. Before he became this like weird cryptocurrency guy, he was actually seen as like part of the pink tide. The social democrat to socialist revolutionary figures that were winning a lot of elections all around Latin America. And then he quickly changed that attitude. He actually had a lot of rehabilitative programs. Initially, when Nayib Bukele came into power, he had rehabilitative programs in mind. He was like, we have to do due process. We have to make sure that like we fix the underlying material conditions to make sure that crime can never manifest ever again. And then he became this monster. Okay. And yes, for those of you who don't know, there are a lot of Palestinians or people of Palestinian descent living in Latin American countries. Anyway, he came in and he built this massive prison structure called CICOT. And he started doing dragnet operations where if you were even 11 steps removed, okay, without any care or consideration to how you became MS-13 adjacent or MS-13 aligned, because MS-13, the way that they work, they'll go to a village or they'll go to a town and they'll basically say, we're going to kill your mother and your daughter if you don't work with us, right? Like basically shopkeepers, like anyone and everyone that they could claim was actually MS-13, they just grabbed, black bagged, and put in front of a judge. Sometimes 200 people at a time. 200 people sitting in front of a judge wearing a balaclava, as the judge decides on all 200 being a part of MS-13 in real time like that. And once you have been decided, once you have been considered an MS-13 gang member, it's over for you. And that's what they did. That's what they did. And that's what they've been doing in El Salvador. Now, Bukele is saying, you can use our concentration camps for the people that you're deporting from the United States of America. And that's precisely what's going on. Yeah. 7.7 million Venezuelans have left the country since 2015. Okay, they've gone mostly to other Latin American countries. Some of them have gone to Spain, and some of them have made their way all the way to the United States of America. The largest population went to Colombia, obviously, as I talked about before. This is a major destabilizing force. When you have 7.7 million refugees, you have a refugee crisis, and it did not have to be this way. Where is this? I remember reading this article about Bukele a few years ago. They interviewed a mother whose severely autistic son was abducted by the cops, and days after searching for him, found out he was sent to Supermax, where they don't even feed you consistently unless your family pays. Yeah. Even before he started the slave labor business, I could take one look at this guy and guess he was already embezzling from the treasury. Not that we needed the help, but American prestige will crater even further when everyone figures out the obvious here. Yeah. Nayib Bukele, who has been yelled at by Donald Trump, ironically enough, on numerous occasions, which is why I always thought it was strange. Donald Trump would go on CPAC and be like, Nayib Bukele, he sucks. He's dumping out his prisons, like probably because he doesn't know anything about Latin America. He probably thinks El Salvador is Venezuela or something, okay? And he would constantly shit on Nayib Bukele, who's also a crypto guy, is now working with him because he said, hey, it's great. Send us all of your deportees, we'll use them as slave labor in our fucking concentration camps. That's where we're at right now. I need you to understand how insane this is. I'm not being hyperbolic at all. Okay, this is not hyperbole. We are here. We are officially in Nazi Germany status, but unlike Nazi Germany's concentration camps being maintained directly by people of German descent or the foreign legions or whatever, we are outsourcing the concentration camp to El Salvador. Okay, now watch this video. Watch this promotional video from Nayib Bukele and tell me that this isn't Nazi shit. Okay, go ahead. Nayib Bukele says, today, the first 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization Tren de Aragua arrived in our country. They were immediately transferred to CICOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center, for a period of 1 year, renewable. The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a high one for us. Over time, these actions, combined with the production already being generated by more than 40,000 inmates engaged in various workshops and labor under the Zero Idleness Program, will help make our prison system self-sustainable. As of today, it costs $200 million per year. On this occasion, the U.S. has also sent 23 MS-13 members wanted by Salvador and Justice, including 2 ringleaders. One of them is a member of the criminal organization's higher structure. This will help us finalize intelligence gathering, go after the last remnants of MS-13, including its former and new members, money, weapons, drugs, hideouts, collaborators, and sponsors. As always, we continue advancing in the fight against organized crime, but this time we are helping our allies, making our prison system self-sustainable and obtaining vital intelligence. They're making their prison system self-sustainable by doing slave labor. Okay, we're doing slave trade shit for Venezuelans who have not gotten any due process whatsoever. Venezuelans that have not, this is a work camp. Okay, Arbeit macht frei shit. Understand? Work sets you free shit. It is, I don't know what words to use. Like, it is not hyperbolic at all when I say this. We're there. We're here. Okay, this is it. This is the first step of the final act of the darkest chapter of American empire. Okay, full tilt fascism. It was the first thing that Rubio made headlines doing when the admin got into office. It supposedly can hold 40,000 people, and Rubio said we'd like to send U.S. citizens there as well. Yes, I remember. Did they copy this from Xinjiang? Oh my God, there are still people in here talking about Xinjiang. I'm losing my mind, dude. Focus on what's happening in front of you. Stop trying to cope by being like, look at China. Okay? What are you saying? Do you like what happened in Xinjiang? Do you think that that was good? If your answer is no, why the fuck are you saying that right now as a counter in this circumstance? When I'm talking as an American about what we are doing to documented migrants whose documentation we are revoking. Holy fuck. Yeah, Americans see something American happening, Americanly in America. What are we, a bunch of Asians? What are we, fucking Chinese, dude? No, this is America. It's happening in America. Do you have nothing to say about this in the United States of America? This is where we're at. And plenty of people are celebrating this. They're championing it. They're salivating at the prospect of doing this kind of fascist nonsense. It is alarming to say the least. It's so weird to also talk about Xinjiang when America did this in U.S. borders against people of Japanese descent, when we had internment camps for people of Japanese descent. Okay? We did this already in World War II, which was already unacceptable, completely unacceptable. You understand? No, we didn't do this post 9/11. You're wrong. No, we did not do this post 9/11. The Patriot Act greatly normalized a surveillance state and basically set the legal basis for doing a lot of this stuff. For sure, it was an expansion of pre-existing, quote unquote freedoms that people had against government surveillance like this. But no, this is different. This is an expansion on top of that. We are reaching the end point. We are reaching the logical conclusion of the post 9/11 world. But even after 9/11, we didn't do internment camps overseas for people that we decided were a part of the axis of evil. Okay? Yes, America did this to Germans too during World War I and II. Yes. America did this during World War I as well. Yes. Yes, you did. Guantanamo. This is a shatters. I know how Guantanamo Bay works. Okay? There was still some semblance This isn't a defense of Guantanamo Bay and the process. We are operating on a different scale than Guantanamo Bay now. Okay? Wake up. Guantanamo Bay is a permanent land lease agreement with the Cuban government, and they can't really say anything about it, obviously, so that we can avoid American laws and engage in torture and numerous other things on non-American soil. Guantanamo Bay captured people from all around the world with very little evidence whatsoever. Many of them were simply innocent, but were considered to be a terrorist and were routinely tortured under a military facility. Okay? This here is just people on the basis of their ethnicity being denaturalized or having their immigration papers revoked while being called, utilizing the same technique, but with at a much greater scale. It's a much larger scale. For like every 100 person that was nabbed from Muslim communities in the United States of America or all around the world, you are going to experience this tenfold, because there are 400 or 500,000 Venezuelan migrants on U.S. soil right now with documentation. It is a scale that is far larger than Gitmo. It is an expansion of what we have done so far. Anyway, watch this. Watch this and tell me if this isn't Nazi propaganda. They grabbed a Venezuelan dude for having tattoos. Like that's what they're doing. And they're like, think about it. We didn't use the Alien Sedition Act post 9/11. We didn't even use the Alien Sedition Act post 9/11. There is no war happening right now, and the Trump administration is claiming that it's an invasion, that migrants are invading. How do you not see that this is an even greater expansion of the previous surveillance state? This is not a justification for the previous surveillance state. I have fought against it every single step of the way. Having said that, this is moving beyond that now. This is a logical conclusion. Yeah, they shaved everyone's heads, except for this guy, apparently. Oh, they shave him in Seacott. Hold on, I gotta pee. Oof. Why are they firing their heads down when moving them? It's all different ways of engaging in like body torture, dehumanization, and to keep them in a state where it's an intimidation tactic. It's a way to keep them as like non-threatening as possible. It's like more difficult to do, more difficult to resist. It's also dehumanizing. It's like when you realize that the cruelty is the point, you will recognize why they're doing all of this. Yeah, human rights organizations have been actively writing about CCOT, actively writing about the lack of due process in El Salvador for almost a decade at this point, since it opened up. These facilities opened up. Half a decade. What? You got fooled? This is El Salvadoran gangs, not people extracted from the U.S. Dog, they're using this as a propaganda piece. They're using this as a propaganda piece to say, this is what we're doing to the Venezuelans. What do you mean I got fooled? That's what Nayib Bukele is saying in the fucking video. What are you talking about? And we already know that the American government did ship a bunch of Venezuelan refugees. 238 of them. Then why are you showing the propaganda? Dude, why is it that when you're just in the wrong, there's something in you that just says like, no, I'm going to double down and like I'm just going to move the goalpost. Like, it's okay, man. It's all right. Like, we get things wrong sometimes. I get things wrong sometimes. You know what I do when I get something wrong? I say, I'm sorry. I was wrong about that. You can do that too. It's a healthy thing to do. All right. It's fine.
Responsibility to protect our families, to keep our streets clean and safe. And that's exactly what the president said he was going to do.
But after some non-citizens represented by the ACLU sued the administration, that federal judge in an emergency hearing Saturday.
Yeah, they also actively ignored the court orders, okay? The White House says it ignored a court order to turn around 2 plane loads of alleged Venezuelan gang members because the flights were over international waters and therefore the ruling didn't apply. Okay? It doesn't matter anymore. Like, they're basically saying, like, nope, there's nothing you can do about it. They were already in the air. Like, it's crazy. No rules, baby. Once the plane wheels are up and you're on international airspace, is over. You can do whatever you want.
Saturday ordered any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States, adding this is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately. The 2 planes already in the air, sources tell us the administration made the calculated decision to ignore that directive. Sources say the planes carrying the alleged gang members took off during the hearing, the administration eager to get them in the air out of U.S. airspace and over international waters before the judge's ruling. In response to that order to turn the planes around, the president of El Salvador, a Trump ally, posting, "Oopsie, too late."
They needed to be brought back.
The other side of this, aside from like the active cruelty that we are watching in broad daylight as the government is functioning, in this like fascist state, collaborating with another fascist government, is that they're so fucking lame. Like, oopsie libtard. It's like, I don't know what the historic equivalent of this is, okay? Like, the aesthetics are also busted. Everything is devolved. It's like moving away from the old Nazi font to Comic Sans as you're doing fascism.
The judge absolutely had authority to do that. The United States government, the executive branch, defying a federal court order raises the stakes enormously, not just in this case, but for how we're going to proceed as a constitutional republic.
But the White House this morning insists the administration did not violate the court order and that the president acted within his authority, claiming federal courts have no jurisdiction over the president's conduct of foreign affairs or ability to remove foreign enemies. Now, all of this is coming as a Brown University professor, Dr. Rasha Alawi, a kidney transplant specialist, has been deported despite having a valid work visa and despite a court order temporarily blocking her expulsion. A Lebanese citizen, she was detained last week after returning to the U.S. from visiting family and put on a plane out of the country, again, despite that court order. A hearing in this case is expected later today.
Okay,
George.
Mary, thanks. Let's get more on this from our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. John, let's start with...
I get what you're saying, but why would you want gang members in your country? Oh my God. Chatter. I'm going to explain this one more time. Why do you believe everything that the government tells you? Why do you automatically assume that every single person being deported is a gang member? Why do you not want the American court system to actually actively handle violent gang members? Why? Not every country is El Salvador. Not every country has a concentration camp like this. Okay? If there are violent criminals that have engaged in violent criminal acts and they don't have citizenship on U.S. soil, I want them to be prosecuted and placed in an American facility. Okay? I want them I want the victims to see justice. That's number one. Number two, these people that are being deported, a big part of this problem right now is that they're nabbing everybody, whoever they can, without any sort of consideration, without any due process whatsoever. Due process is a right. It exists for a very good reason. It's so that the government doesn't do this, because the government that can do this to Venezuelans can do this to other Americans as well eventually. And if you think that they're not going to do that, you are fucking delusional. They are lying to you. They're trying to get you to respond by going, I don't understand. Why do you want violent criminals to stay in this country? That is the entire purpose. That is the entire reason as to why they are claiming anyone and everyone is a terrorist. They said this about Mahmoud Khalil, who was not a terrorist at all. He was a Columbia University student negotiator. He was a lead negotiator for the student movement on Columbia campus. He had never violated a single law, and they actively admitted that. They said he didn't violate anything. We just think he's a terrorist. We think he's a threat to American foreign policy, so he's now going to get deported. We're going to revoke his green card. A green card means you have legal permanent status. A green card is one step removed from being a naturalized citizen. The only difference between a green card holder and a full-blown U.S. citizen is that you just, or a naturalized citizen, is that you don't have the right to vote. That's it. He endorsed terrorism? No, he didn't. No, he did not. And for the record, even if he had, that is not, it's not, you can't deport someone or revoke their citizenship for that reason. You can't do that. Not only did he not do that, but even if he had done that, guess what? There's a thing called the First Amendment, dipshit. It's specifically designed for this. Do you understand? It's no different than saying being Jewish, being of Jewish background in Nazi Germany and endorsing socialism, communism, trade unionism makes you a terrorist. It is the exact same principle. How do you not understand? Every government that has historically engaged in acts of fascism have created its own legal structure in an effort to justify these actions. And a lot of dumb fucks who don't understand anything about history and can't comprehend that will just go along with it. We'll just go, oh, well, the government said he's a terrorist, so I guess it's fine. Not realizing that the vague standard of terrorism, the vague definition of terrorism is unironically the perfect way to do this. Instantly ban Lamau, W streamer, I guess, Kappa. I unbanned you so you can keep being stupid in the chat if you want to. But it is kind of funny that you would complain about being banned. You can still watch the stream while you're simultaneously justifying revoking someone's green card. Like, if you think this minor nuisance for you is a major problem, then try to understand, like, putting someone in this torturous, detaining them falsely without due process and trying to revoke their legal permanent residency. A person with an American wife who's 8 months pregnant, like, please, it will come to you as well. Also, yeah, we'll get around to you as well has always been the project, but it's still striking to see them say it. Fascism wants to eat you too. Its hunger can't be sated. Will Chamberlain, denaturalize and deport Mehdi Hassan. Yeah, all that forehead and no brain. Don't worry, we'll get around to you as well. I hear tailoring's a thriving industry in Vietnam. Anyone that hurts my feelings must be deported and denaturalized. That's where we're at here for a lot of these guys. They're very openly saying it. They're very openly saying it, where it's like, listen, we will denaturalize, we will deport. You're not a part of the in-group. If you're not a part of the in-group, we will come for you. We want the government to come for you. It's crazy that this is not like a universal, that Americans are not universally against this. And yet there's still libs and conservatives watching the stream and hesitant to call these people and their sentiments fascist. I know. They will never, they will not realize what is happening, okay? They will not realize what's going on. And slowly but surely, they will be advocates for it. That's it. That's how it goes. And hopefully, if justice is served one day, they'll turn around and hide their head in shame. They'll be like, oh, no, we were always against this. You know, always. What do you mean? I was totally against this. Like, the fact that a judge, a federal judge, put forth a court-backed injunction to stop the deportation process and that the White House simply ignored it is another severe move in the direction of destroying everything. Like, what the last ticker tape, the last piece of ticker tape that held this entire process together is gone. It is perishing in front of our eyes.
Deportations to El Salvador. We just heard Mary say the administration knew they were defying the order. So this is likely to head perhaps to the Supreme Court.
Yes, George, as Mary reported, it was we are told, a calculated decision to ignore the judge's directive. The hearing on this is rather extraordinary. The hearing on this had already started before those planes took off. It was before the judge actually...
If you find it amazing that Americans are supporting this, you don't understand America. This has always been here. Chatters that come in here to tell me, of all people, okay, that this is their I told you so moment. Yes, dude, you want to maybe take a deep breath and try to comprehend why I think this is an even greater expansion of previous revocations of civil liberties and rights that people had. I'm trying to wake up people who don't recognize what is going on as it's like slamming them in the head. Okay? Just simply being like, this is how it's always been is so utterly unproductive and incredibly stupid. Especially because this is not how it's always been. Do you understand? This is not. It is not how it's always been. Every single step that you will point to throughout American history has moved the needle in the direction of this moment, okay? It's always been an expansion. Barack Obama accelerating ICE deportations and giving more power to ICE after the agency was developed when there was a previous agency called INS, okay, for immigration enforcement. The Department of Homeland Security is invented after 2001. ICE is a part of that. Obama greatly expands ISIS power and lack of jurisdiction, really, where they can just like operate everywhere. Trump comes in, also does the same. No one reins it back. Joe Biden doesn't rein it back. Trump comes back in, and now here we are. The reason why I say this will not stop at simply non-citizens is because of is precisely because like it is a consistent expansion of like violating previous rules that kind of were supposed to stop you from doing this. Okay?
Issued the order, but it was after it was quite clear the judge was skeptical of the use of this 1798 Aliens Enemies Act. By the way, that is an act that has only been used 3 times in all of American history. So the judge was clearly skeptical of it. And then when the order came, the order was clear that even if the planes had taken off, they were to turn around. Let me read you what the judge said. You shall inform your clients of this immediately. Any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. Now, the White House says that this is an order that it was an extraordinary imposition on the executive branch, that the judge simply had no authority to interfere with the president's conduct on national security and foreign affairs matters. But as you also heard Mary point out, this has huge implications for the other court cases working their way through right now on other actions by this president.
Which is why it's likely to go to the Supreme Court. And the Brown University doctor had a valid work visa. So what authority did the administration use to deport her?
Well, her attorneys say she had a valid H-1B visa to be an assistant professor at Brown University. By the way, she's educated in the United States, Washington University, Yale University. We'll find out more on this at today's hearing.
Meantime, the president also claimed overnight that the pardons issued by former President Biden are void for the January 6th committee members, but the pardon power in the Constitution for the president is absolute.
Oh, no. Oh, no. He's going to lock up Liz Cheney. He's going to... Oh, no. Democrats will maybe get animated now. When Joe Brandon is in the crosshairs, Democrats will finally get animated. Thousands of people deported. I sleep. Joe Biden's pardon might be... Joe Biden's, like, personal pardons might be revoked. This is the greatest threat to American civil liberties. Yeah. Yeah, maybe they'll spring into action now.
It is. And by the way, there's no indication that President Biden signed these with an auto pen. That's what President Trump is arguing, that these were signed with an auto pen and therefore they're not valid. We don't know that they were signed with an auto pen, but even if they were, it's unclear that that would be an issue. In fact, President Bush back in 2005, the White House did a study on this and determined that even orders signed with an auto pen are valid orders. That proposition's never been tested in court. I guess the big question here, though, George, is does this imply that that President Trump wants to actually prosecute members of the January 6th committee?
John Carl, thanks very much.
Following the Trump administration's move to deport more than 130 Venezuelan immigrants by invoking the Alien Enemies Act over the weekend, you might be wondering, what exactly is that law? Well, the Alien Enemies Act was passed in 1798. It says if the U.S. is either at war with or facing an invasion from a foreign nation or government, then the president can remove non-U.S. citizens affiliated with the, quote, hostile country in question. The act has been used just 3 times in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. That last and most recent example famously led to the internment of 31,000 non-citizens of Japanese, German, and Italian descent after the bombings of Pearl Harbor. By the way, decades later, under President Reagan, the government issued a formal apology, calling it a grave injustice and acknowledging that it was motivated largely by racial prejudice. Back to today. The U.S. is not at war with Venezuela, but the Trump administration claims that we are facing an invasion of dangerous gang-affiliated people from that country. And on Saturday, hundreds of deportees, including the accused Venezuelans, were processed at a Salvador jail, despite a U.S. judge's order one day earlier not to deport them. It all raises questions over whether President Trump has the authority to use the Alien Enemies Act in this way. Joining us now to break it all down is Catherine Jan Ebright, a lawyer with the nonpartisan Brennan Center for Justice. Her work focuses specifically on wartime powers and the constitutional separation of powers. Good morning, Catherine. So we just broke down what the act says, but what do you think people need to understand about the Alien Enemies Act, particularly in terms of its use now?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think there are two things that are really critical to take away from this. First is this is a wartime authority only. The term invasion, the term predatory incursion, that language that the Trump administration is trying to use, it refers to armed attacks, not metaphorical, quote-unquote, invasions, not migration, not even narcotics trafficking.
Yeah. They're using predatory incursion, okay, instead of declared war invasion, because it's not an invasion, it's not a declared war. So they're saying that this is a predatory incursion. Okay, that is the attempt of legally justifying this new erosion of pre-existing rules. Okay, something that hasn't been utilized post 9/11, mind you. And obviously, this doesn't mean that we didn't black bag people and send them the Gitmo during 9/11. We did in the aftermath of 9/11. Of course, we did that. Okay, this right now would not be able to happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't already violate pre-existing rules. This is, however, a new degree, because this gives a broad, if implemented, if solidified by the Supreme Court, this is the first step to legally justifying concentration camps. Okay, a legal justification for permanent detention, torture, violation of due process, and targeting people on the basis of their ethnic identity, targeting people on the basis of their background, documented or undocumented. It doesn't matter. And I need you guys who are legalists, okay, who look at the law and say, well, the law is the law, follow it, to understand something. The Nazis did something similar as well. So did the apartheid South African government. So did the government during segregation or during times of slavery. Every single government that does horrifying acts like this, that we now understand with the benefit of hindsight was horrifying, doesn't just go around being like, we're evil and we're doing this because we love violating the law. No, they create a legal justification for it. That is precisely why I always say slavery was legal. Freeing slaves was illegal, okay? Sheltering Jews was illegal in Nazi Germany. There was a legal framework created to go after every single Jewish person, go after every single disabled person, go after every single gay person, go after the Roma population, and put them in concentration camps and death camps. There is a legal framework that is always set by the administrative apparatus. They don't just say, we love violating the laws, lol, what are you going to do about it? Even though this administration is so incompetent that they do kind of say that, ultimately there are still more intelligent people behind the scenes that are trying to find a way to rework pre-existing laws and precedents in an effort to make it so, that this is legally appropriate. It's above board. Or change pre-existing laws if necessary.
That's not to downplay the seriousness of crime, but it is to say that a wartime authority cannot be used for peacetime immigration enforcement. The other thing to note is that this law, using this law, is an attempt to bypass due process, which is a constitutional right that even non-citizens have. And so these men who are being accused of being members of Tren de Aragua are not receiving real hearings. There's no real evidence that would stand up in a court of law or an immigration proceeding. And so we don't actually know who we're deporting.
So there's limited precedent here. It's just been invoked 3 times in the past.
I need you guys to understand something, by the way. Even though the administration is coming out now and saying, well, we actually think the court order is patently unlawful, that's not the internal conversation that took place. The internal conversation behind closed doors that took place was not whether or not the court order was unlawful, because it's not. It is a lawful court order. And actually, what they're doing is violating the law. The real conversation that took place behind closed doors was, what are they going to do about it? Can we get away with doing this? And they decided, yes, we can get away with doing this. We can get away with just not listening to the courts. This actually shakes the foundation of the judiciary in a very meaningful way. Okay? This is a huge, huge erosion of the checks and balances that are supposed to exist in this country that obviously have been neutered. Like, the legislative body is completely ineffective. It is completely neutered. But this is a constitutional crisis ready to explode, okay? This is 2 months in, and we are officially saying bye-bye to the judiciary. You need to understand how damaging that is. You need to understand how devastating that is. The last set of checks is now being eroded, shredded. Americans, I think, due to the comfort of living in the imperial core, cannot comprehend what it's like when a fascist dictatorship overtakes your government. An authoritarian leader comes in and just starts violating all of the previous remaining institutions and just does whatever it wants to do. You guys don't see it because you're not used to it. You've never experienced it. You don't understand. Coming from Turkey, okay, I know exactly what the fuck is going on, and I keep ringing the alarm bells, but people don't see it. Any chatter who is one generation removed or lived anywhere else outside of the United States of America, in a developing nation, a second world nation, third world nation, knows exactly what the fuck is going on. But Americans living in the heart of empire have never experienced something like this, so they just don't understand it. And as long as, jalapeno poppers are $5 still, they're like, yeah, it's fine. Some are looking at this and going, it's based.
Well, again, the whole thing is just preposterous. So, as the Department of Justice has said in writing, nothing that the administration did conflicted with the court order. But there's a bigger issue here, which is the court order is patently unlawful. And if we got into a place in this country where district court judges could, for example, help is the wrong word, could interfere and direct specific targeting or non-targeting in, say, Houthi-controlled territory, could direct which general on the battlefield is going to be in charge of making which decisions, could direct, for example, we can send this military asset to this country, but not this country, could direct what intelligence we could share with Israel versus with Saudi Arabia. If a district court judge can be involved in the conduct of our foreign policy, under no definition do we have a democracy in this country.
Yeah. A democracy is when the Trump administration gets to do whatever it wants and violate constitutional rules that were set ahead of time. A democracy is when Donald Trump single-handedly with his administration can just destroy the judiciary. It's just over. It's done. It's game over for the judges. Throw them out. Throw the courts out. The only time that they're actually of use is when they're of use to the administration's goals. When you can ship someone like Mahmoud Khalil to a Louisiana detention facility because there's a judge there that's going to expedite the process of deportation without any care or consideration for constitutional norms being violated, First Amendment rights being violated in this process. And when we get to a constitutional crisis, when we have a supermajority Supreme Court that's conservative, that might actually decide against Donald Trump, this still probably is not going to stop the administration. Do you understand? That's where we're at right now. Legal migration far, far outweighs illegal migration. So don't be a pussy and just say that's your actual problem. The irony of complaining about indigenous population of your country become a minority in fucking America. The rise of the far right in Europe is entirely due to immigration fear-mongering, by the way, which of course stems from racism. So never let a person tell you racism is not a problem anymore. Oh, this is Conor McGregor's takes from God. Isn't our multicultural world beautiful? You can have a South African fascist purchase an American social media company, and then you can have an Indian dude operate a fucking white nationalist Jesus Christ is King channel called Inevitable West, where he talks about, deporting all of the migrants. Wonderful stuff here. This is the multicultural, multi-ethnic, ethnically diverse fascist movement that is a global project. It's super sick. Everyone is doing it just for money. All of these fucking accounts. You first, buddy. I'm an American citizen, dickhead. You can fantasize about deporting me all day, every day, okay? If they do something to me, it's already over for you. You understand? Do you understand that? Not you, Hassan? Oh, sorry. I thought you were shitting on, me getting deported first. I was born on U.S. soil. If they fucking denaturalize me, it's game over already. We've already We've already literally moved in that direction of constitutional camps for anyone that the government doesn't like.
But talk to us about how past uses of the Alien Enemies Act, especially during World War II, what that says about its use today.
Yeah, so the only time that this law has ever been used in response to a quote-unquote invasion or predatory incursion was in response to the attack on Pearl Harbor. The War of 1812, World War I, that was in response to Congress's declaration of war. And migration, narcotics trafficking look very different from an armed attack with armed aircraft, armed submarines on a U.S. naval base and other Pacific holdings. And so that's to say that this is not the kind of invasion that we saw in Pearl Harbor. And also, of course, as you just said, the internal...
Also, that wasn't Chile either. For the record, like, I hope that this is not I don't know what their perspective is, but I certainly don't think that Japanese internment was a good thing or a justifiable thing, because that was also unjustifiable. That was also insane. Okay? It is like one of the darkest chapters in like close American history. I don't know why it's effing, but it's not on my end. It's on Twitch end. Okay? It's a Twitch server side issue. If you're seeing Fs, if you're seeing like minor blips in the broadcast, is because of, I don't know, it's a server side problem.
Of 31,000 non-citizens without due process and based principally on their ancestry was a shameful moment in American history. And so reviving the Alien Enemies Act to target new ethnic groups today is frankly un-American. And it shows that we haven't learned from the mistakes of our past.
Catherine, the concept of war as declared by Congress is clear to me, but I know the Biden administration declared this gang a transnational criminal organization, and then the Trump administration escalated that to call them a designated terror organization. Does that give them leeway within the law to fight with more aggressive means, given how difficult it is otherwise to identify gang members?
What the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation does with respect to Tren de Aragua is it actually unlocks power under peacetime immigration law to target that gang. That peacetime immigration law that is unlocked through the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation complements other parts of immigration law that would allow this administration to go after individuals who have perpetrated serious crimes and are convicted on those crimes with due process. And so the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation...
Yeah, thank God Kamala Harris said she would prosecute transnational gangs at every speech. Thank God liberals capitulated to the right-wing framing on the issue that, like, migrants were a criminal element on this nation's soil. Before people say Kamala Harris would never do this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? I need you to understand something. Kamala Harris lost in part because of that kind of sentiment, because she did not mount a significant defense against a significant counterbalance against growing fascism. And it wasn't just Kamala Harris either. It was the entirety of the Democratic Party. This is an issue that I've been talking about for fucking years at this point. Go all the way back to the beginning of the Biden administration, and you will hear me tell you that if the Biden administration does not actually follow through on the promises it made about offering amnesty to undocumented migrants and like fixing the migrant crisis, not in the ways that the right wing claims there is a crisis, but fixing the side of processing with expeditious processing, making sure that people are properly documented in this country, creating legal protections for the migrants that are now documented. This is going to move in only one direction, and it did. And it did. And we're here now. They won't deport you, but maybe they won't let you back into the country when you travel abroad. No, dude, what are you talking about? I am an American citizen. If that happens to me, it's already over. We're moving in that direction. Yes, you're not wrong, but these concerns at this point are not valid, because if it can happen to me, it's over. It's done. It's dead. Okay. I'm an American citizen born on U.S. soil. If it happens to me, it's over.
Is not about war powers. It is not about invoking a war authority from 1798.
Let's keep talking about you. I know. I'm not the one who keeps bringing it back to myself. Chatters are. I'm actively trying to not talk about that. Okay. I don't know why you just, I don't know why people don't see that.
Law. And so the idea that you can use this designation to then abuse a wartime authority or invoke it has no basis in the law.
Let's talk about checks and balances. The Trump administration seemingly defied a court.
Yeah, here. This border crisis narrative is incredibly from March 15th, 2021, but I talked about it prior to this as well. And I talked about it in prior administrations as well. Annoying from the media, by the way. They are absolutely feeding into this. And they're going to cause the Democrats to behave in a totally, even in a more reactionary way than they were already going to behave. It is so incredibly manufactured. There's always been a crisis at the border. When there are humanitarian problems occurring at the border as a consequence of the conditions there, 120 degrees they have to traverse in the desert, all that sort of stuff. And then also the American government adding on to the cruelty with the way that they choose to deal with people that are crossing the border, that are seeking asylum. There is an extra crisis on the border. There's always a crisis on the border. It's never stopped. The problem is the way media covers it. You can either cover it like you do under the Trump administration, which is somewhat honestly, from a moral grandstand point of view, like an actual honest point of view, by saying this is really messed up, this is really horrible, the way that we are treating these people is absolutely ridiculous. Or you can treat it in a way where you look at the border and you say, there's a gigantic crisis happening in the border currently, and it's really bad because so many people are coming in. So many people are coming in. So many people are coming in. What are we going to do? Depending on who is in charge, we either deal with it from the point of view of reactionary garbage, claiming that this is a huge issue, not taking an actual stance on it, but just simply channeling the right-wing agitations as they have done. Just covering it as, many Americans are concerned that the border is turning into a pylon with hundreds of thousands of migrants coming in through the floodgates. Like, that's no different than what Fox News says. No different than what Fox News says. When MSNBC is saying it, or whenever, the Associated Press is covering it in that way, they're doing a disservice. If they truly have a left-wing point of view in the way that, so many imply, then they have to recognize that simply offering contentious coverage on a particular matter does not mean that you're doing honest coverage on the issue. So, House GOP leaders head to the southern border as immigrants ready, yeah, that's where we're at. That is where we're at. This is if you're wondering how we got here, this is how we got by capitulating to right-wing framing. By capitulating to right-wing framing, the Democrats in charge basically created a process in which these kinds of actions were inevitable. Instead of creating a counter narrative against the faucet of misinformation and lies being told about undocumented migrants, claiming that they're all violent criminals over and over and over and over again. The Democrats first didn't say anything. Secondly, did not actually follow through on the different trajectory in terms of how we handle undocumented and documented migrants in this country. And basically, by the end of the 4-year process, directly capitulated to the right-wing framing and tried to pass their own reactionary right-wing border bill. Even if you don't care about the humanity of the migrants in this process, if you were to just remove morality from this equation and simply look at it as like a political game, simply look at this as pure politics, you still look like a hypocrite. You look like a dumbass. After years and years and years of saying, oh, build the wall is stupid, it's racist, it's stupid, it's racist, turning around and being like, no, we want to build the wall now. Trump doesn't want to build the wall, lol. That only makes you look like a hypocritical asshole. Okay? That's it. That's all this is.
Court order not to deport these people. They have a different argument saying that, the timing was off. And that, there wasn't jurisdiction where the deportees were. What does this say about checks and balances in our system?
I think a real strain on the checks and balances on our system. The courts are supposed to be able to rein the president in or rein the Congress in when they do things that are not consistent with the law as it's written or with the Constitution. And the court very clearly said that any individual who is in custody, who is subject to the Alien Enemies Act proclamation of the president, cannot be deported. And that the flights, if there were flights underway, had to be turned around. And so this was defiance of a court order. It is concerning, and it is a strain for our democratic system with those checks and balances. But I think the real question is, what does the non-compliance or compliance with the judge's order look like moving forward? And I don't mean to discount the seriousness, really the gravity of sending hundreds of men into Salvadoran prisons that are notorious for torture, which is what just happened. But at the same time, in terms of upholding rule of the United States, it is really critical in the coming hours, days, weeks to see what the administration does in following or disobeying the judge's orders.
Catherine, I don't think any American would want to see an innocent person, even if they crossed the border illegally, sent to a prison they don't belong in. But at the same time, the reason this is happening politically is because there is concern about the power of this gang, what it's done to other countries.
Dude, oh my God. Oh, come, bro. That is crazy, dude. That is, he immediately is just like, but, you know, there are valid reasons for just black bagging people, you know? Double circ Tony at it again. God damn, dude.
Crimes that's
Tony
committed
fucking two-tone, baby.
Here, the NYPD chief of detective was quoted in saying it's tough to identify them here in New York because they trade immigration paperwork and, you know, they're not admitting what they belong to. So within the law, what can this government do to take care of the very real threat of violence without trampling on the civil liberties that you're concerned about?
As I've said, there are immigration laws that already...
You say that now, but you wouldn't say if they were in your... I live in Los Angeles. Where the fuck do you think the supposed criminal migrants are? What are you talking about? What is happening with Twitch today? I mean, I'm not seeing the Fs at all. I don't know why you guys are saying that, but I live in LA, dumbass. This is supposed to be the heart of the criminal activity. What are you talking about? Motherfuckers in Duluth think, yeah, motherfuckers living in Terre Haute, Indiana are like, dude, you don't understand. These criminal migrants, they're coming after me, baby. Like, what are you saying? Jesus Christ.
Already give the president the authority specifically to target members of this gang, even to conduct summary deportations of individuals who've been convicted of serious crimes. Summary deportations, if there is, before that, the due process that actually establishes that someone has committed criminal activity. And relying on a wartime...
I'm sorry, we don't have a...
Relying on a...
Dude, this guy is a fucking real freak.
Due process that actually establishes that someone has committed criminal activity.
But we don't have
and relying on a wartime...
I'm sorry, we don't have a...
Relying on a wartime authority is inappropriate here.
He's like, no, let me manufacture consent. I got one speed, baby. One speed only. Let me just manufacture a little bit of consent, please. What a freakish way to operate here. Oh, God. You can only say this if you have no care or consideration for anything, okay? We've moved beyond care and consideration for the humanity of migrants, okay? Documented, undocumented alike. But you officially don't care about, like, an administration that could also just as easily violate your due process. It doesn't make any sense. You're so horny to justify the violence that undocumented migrants are being subjected to that in your mind are like, in your mind, they're bad, they're evil, they're criminals, right? So you're so horny for that violence to be dished out to them that you have no self-preservation remaining. This is a real, you know, chickens for KFC moment, okay? It doesn't make sense. If they can do that to them, that's not where it's going to stop. I don't know why you think it's going to stop there.
I don't want it to be a situation where they have to commit a crime here first before, like, why should an American suffer a violent crime before the investigation can happen and they can be removed? It's a catch-22.
No, it's not. Oh, my God. Dude, there is no pre-crime. What are you talking about? He's literally justifying the Lake and Riley Act, by the way. Oh, my God. That's not how this works. That assumption only works if every single person that is doing a crime is undocumented. That, like, documented U.S. citizens don't do any crimes whatsoever. It's just undocumented migrants that are doing crimes. All the crimes are being conducted by undocumented migrants. Oh, my Lord, dude. Oh, dude. We are so cooked. We're so cooked. This is supposed to be the liberals, by the way. Liberal mainstream media. What the fuck are you saying, you goddamn freak?
Yeah, but people have to commit crimes in order to be.
I don't think it
to be charged with a crime.
I mean, it
But
is.
they might be wanted in Venezuela, but we don't have an agreement with Venezuela to find out. So there's like a soft spot here where I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah.
Immigration law already gives, based on the foreign terrorist organization designation, the president the power to pursue people based on membership in Tren de Aragua, if that can be shown in an immigration proceeding.
We're so close to thought crimes. No, dude. We've passed the thought crimes. We are now officially saying, if you're Venezuelan, you're a part of Tren de Aragua, and I don't even care for due process to check. If you violate due process that way, one day you might be in the crosshairs. You don't even have to be Venezuelan. That's the whole principle behind due process being afforded to everyone unconditionally. That's the entire point of due process. When you violate it, when you say no more due process, then guess what? You're Venezuelan now. And by virtue of being Venezuelan, you're Tren de Aragua. You're a terrorist. That's the whole point. That's it. And it will move beyond looking Venezuelan, okay? It's not even a thought crime at this point. It's just pure ethnic fascism.
And so if this government, if this administration has actual evidence that the men that they're picking up, the Venezuelans they're picking up, are members of Tren de Aragua.
You're screaming, but you voted Jill Stein, dude? I didn't. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Why are you so stupid? Even if I did, it wouldn't fucking matter, because what I'm saying right now is significantly more important, but I didn't. So why are you... One must ask the question, why do you think this is a battle that you must fight in this process? Why were you so fucking duped into believing this when it's objectively untrue? I probably have countless fucking hours shitting on Jill Stein. How? How did you arrive at such a fucking wrong conclusion? Do you care about nothing that is happening? Do you not care about the erosion of civil liberties that are unfolding in front of your fucking eyes right now? What should she have done differently? Can you say what her campaign should have done differently? What should have Kamala Harris done differently in her campaign? Polling says that border immigration issues are the most popular issue for voters. Yep, there you go. That's how you know, dude. That's how you know this motherfucker doesn't care about anything. Yeah, you obviously don't give a shit about immigration. Did you stunt for Kamala? Oh my God. I can't help someone if they refuse to help themselves, okay? Kamala Harris lost by margins that even if third-party voters all collectively got together and voted for Kamala Harris, which is not a given, that's not how democracy works to begin with, she still would have lost. And you're over here still entertaining the notion that like everybody other than Kamala Harris is at fault here. It's so stupid. Kamala Harris is a fucking non-entity, okay? She lost because she ran a bad campaign. Virtually everyone now recognizes that. And you're still looking at the Trump administration violating the remainder of the ticker tape that holds this entire structure together from completely collapsing in and of itself in ways that will hurt you as well. And you're like, well, you didn't sufficiently say you got to vote for Kamala Harris. Oh, I bet you feel bad right now. Even though I could have fucking stumped for Kamala every day of the fucking week and it still wouldn't have made a fractional difference. There is nothing that you could do. You cannot outflank the party. If the party and the campaign decides to go in one direction and that direction is objectively bad, all I can do is criticize with the hopes to change that so they can win the election. And when they lose, because they didn't listen to any of those criticisms from people like myself and many others, they lose, and people still come in here and go, you see? Look at that.
They can hold them, they can show that evidence to an immigration judge, and then they can get a removal order. There doesn't need to be a crime in the United States because of what is written in our immigration law and that designation.
That's the investigative challenge that law enforcement has to deal with today. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, let's get to some news. It's 4 minutes out.
Homan sends message to rogue judge, defies logic.
At the top of the hour, the White House is defending its decision to send hundreds of alleged gang members to a super prison down in El Salvador.
And President Trump is thanking the country for taking all of those illegal migrants in.
Good job, El Salvador. One of the great stories in Central and South America. Maddie Rivera is live in Washington. Maddie. Hi, guys. Good morning. The president of El Salvador says more than 200 Tren de Aragua members arrived in the country over the weekend. He also says they received almost 24 MS-13 gang members from the U.S. A senior Trump administration official tells our...
She may have run a terrible campaign, but still, people still voted for a fascist, just saying. Also hated her campaign, but they voted for an unqualified fascist. What are you talking about, dude? I know. The entire point is you lost to an unqualified fascist after losing to him by utilizing the same techniques once in 2016. It makes me lose my mind that, like, these people are so uninterested in learning lessons from their past mistakes, and their fan base still turns around and supports that theory that Democrats are infallible, that they are actually not to be criticized here. She lost the election partially because she was so committed to Israel conducting a genocide. Think about that. That's how horny they were. Here is the Democratic leadership, high-ranking Democratic leadership officials. Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in office, says Israel can't possibly be committing a genocide in Gaza because it was provoked. Like, that is from the interview conducted with the New York Times yesterday, okay? Yesterday. This came out yesterday. That's what Chuck Schumer is saying after refusing to do anything about Donald Trump getting broad powers from the legislative body because Chuck Schumer refused to fight. And this is what he's doing in that interview. Genocide is described as a country or some group tries to wipe out a whole race of people, a whole nationality of people. So if Israel was not provoked and it just invaded Gaza and shot at random Palestinians, Gazans, that would be genocide. That is what they're doing! In fact, the opposite happened. And Hamas is much closer to genocidal than Israel. Bro, these people do not live in the real world. We are so cooked. God, he's such a piece of shit. I hate this monstrous piece of shit. God damn it.
261 illegal aliens were deported to...
Yeah, Chuck Schumer's book that he's touting is... Anti-Semitism in America, book launch with Michael Solomonov, and he can't even do the fucking book release events now. Okay? This is his new book, Anti-Semitism in America, A Warning. He can't even do his book release now because wherever he goes, people are going to be protesting against him. Schumer is postponing his book tour amid major backlash from Democrats to his decision last week to pass the CR. I'm telling you right now, if that doesn't prove to you that this animal does not care about anything other than lining up his fucking pockets and also presenting his own personal agenda above all else, I don't know what will. Yeah. Chuck Schumer giving cover to Trump to keep destroying the UN. Schumer will choose Israel over American democracy if it comes down to it, and it is. By the way, before people say, Izzy is Jewish, okay? Izzy is Jewish, you know? Not that it fucking matters. You don't have to be Jewish or a Gentile to understand how insane this is. Chuck Schumer calling Gaza a genocide is anti-Semitic because it makes Israel look bad. Reporter, that's what the UN report calls it. The UN is anti-Semitic. Chuck Schumer, the leader in the Senate Democrats, the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate, saying, it's a UN special committee has used. Please, the UN has been anti-Israel, anti-Semitically against Israel. Calling him an animal isn't okay. Yes, you're right. It actually is light. I don't know. You're right. Calling him an animal isn't okay because animals at least have some kind of like collective interest in protecting others. Okay. Yeah, it's not only offensive to animals, but I just can't come up with anything that is worse to say in this situation. It's not enough.
El Salvador in total, 101 were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII and 137 were deported through the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. And that's what's been causing a lot of controversy. This wartime authority gives the president the power to deport non-citizens without a judicial hearing during a period of war or invasion. The act has only been used 3 other times in American history. This is the first time it's been invoked since World War II. But the president is justifying its use.
Well, this is a time of war because Biden allowed millions of people, many of them criminals, many of them at the highest level. They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. That's an invasion.
On Saturday, a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to stop removals under the act to see if its invocation is legal, and he ordered deportation flights to turn around. But the White House says the planes were already outside of U.S. airspace, so they argue the judge's ruling no longer applied. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said,
"It's ridiculous. Ridiculous."
As the administration did not refuse to comply with a court order. Leavitt goes on to say federal courts generally have no jurisdiction over the president's conduct of foreign affairs, adding a single judge in a single city cannot direct the movements of an aircraft carrier full of alien terrorists who are physically expelled from U.S. soil. The temporary restraining order is in effect for 14 days. A hearing is scheduled on March 21st. Lawrence Ainsley and Brian.
All right,
Maddie, it's incredible. Thank you so much. When you look at their rap sheets, it's hard to believe that some judge was saying, keep them here in America. Because they are alleged gang members and their rap sheets are long. These are career criminals that were in America, in this great country of El Salvador. The president there, working hand in hand with Donald Trump, decided they can come here. And you see in the video, their heads were being forced down. They're being transported one by one. They're getting their heads shaved. They're walking with their hands behind their necks. And this is all at a detention center, the El Salvador Terrorism Confinement Center. And the president down there says they will stay for at least a year.
Yet again, I find myself amazed with the Democratic Party and even some of the members of the media. They're talking about process again, and they're not talking about the evildoers that were in our country because Joe Biden decided to just unleash the border, remove all the security barriers that were there because he didn't like the president that came before him. And you had 10 million people.
One of the craziest aspects of this, is quite literally the fact that it was actually Donald Trump that saw big periods of migration from Venezuela. Like, I don't have an issue with Venezuelan migrants coming into this country. I don't have an issue with any migrants coming into this country. Okay? But the notion that like these criminal elements were brought into the country by Joe Biden, it's ridiculous. Donald Trump not only offered Venezuelan refugees temporary protected status for political purpose, he actually extended it on his way out. Okay? And big periods of migration from Venezuela to the United States of America happened as a direct consequence of the sanctions regime implemented by the Trump administration on Venezuela, continued by the Biden administration on Venezuela.
Come into the country. We didn't vet these people, and some of these people right here were the ones that came into the country. Rapists, murderers, people that committed assault as well. And so you have this unifying message. 80% of the country, over 70% believe that we should have mass deportation of these people. Yet they defend the actions of these criminals.
So the way I understand it, a couple of days ago, I think it was Friday, where the president enacted the 1798 era Alien Enemies Act. And he said because of that, he was setting the table to get rid of TDA, MS-13, and all these criminal gangs that have come into our country. Next thing you know, we have lined up, I guess, 21 of the most wanted El Salvador MS-13 guys, 250 alien enemy members of TDA.
I'll give you an example of what's going on right now, okay? A personal example for an immigrant rights attorney. All right, here. Returning to Twitter to shine a light on what the Alien Enemies Act looks like in real life. Our immigration defense client fled Venezuela last year and came to the U.S. to seek asylum. He has a strong claim. He was detained at entry because ICE alleged his tattoos are gang related. They are absolutely not. Our client worked in the arts in Venezuela. He is LGBTQ. His tattoos are benign, but ICE submitted photos of his tattoos as evidence that he is Trendaragua. His immigration defense attorney planned to present evidence he is not, but never got the chance because our client has been disappeared. We last spoke to our client on Thursday before he was supposed to have a hearing in immigration court, but ICE didn't bring him. This is what I mean when I say this is a violation of due process. This is a violation of due process. The government attorney had no info about why he was not there. The judge reset the hearing for Monday. We've been trying to we emailed and called the Texas facility where he was last held, more than 1,300 miles from the San Diego detention center he was in when we started representing him. They had no info yesterday. I know there's F's happening. I already reached out to Twitch. Already to look into the matter. Hopefully they will fix it. There are some minor hiccups. I'm aware that there are minor hiccups. I'm working to fix it. I'm working to fix the minor hiccups. Okay. I'm working to fix it. I think it's probably a Twitch. I mean, it's most likely a Twitch-related issue, especially considering that it's happening. It's not. There's nothing on my end that shows like bit rate dropping or anything like that. Yeah. Wait, what? By the way, this is what's happening. Since this saved into the VOD, I think it's OBS side. So did the apartheid South African government. So government during segregation or during times of slavery. Every single. I don't know what would be causing this on the OBS side. They're looking at it, okay? I have updated my OBS. My OBS is updated. It's weird, though. It's weird because, like, dude, listen, here's what happens. Usually what happens is when there's big events happening, I guess Twitch has, like, limited bandwidth or something, so they just, like, reshift priorities away from smaller streamers to make sure that they have enough for the big channels or whatever. I think there is a finite amount that every channel is allocated. So whenever there's a big issue, there's a big event taking place, like change your OBS password. What is an OBS password? Some of you guys just say shit. I'm probably getting throttled. It's happened before. All right, I'm gonna continue. Hold on. Anyway, they had no info on their client. And yesterday told us he was no longer there. This morning, he disappeared from online detainee locator. Our client came to the U.S. seeking protection, but has spent months in ICE prisons, been falsely accused of being a gang member, and today he was being forcibly transferred, we believe, to El Salvador. We're horrified tonight thinking of what might happen to him now. The Alien Enemies Act would allow Trump administration to remove people from the U.S. based on an accusation alone. The accusation could be, as it is for our client, completely baseless, but they would remove them anyway, despite the dangers, despite the lack of due process. What happened today is a dark moment in our history. One bright spot in this madness that I see are the many lawyers and advocates across the country who spent their Saturday fighting like hell to preserve justice in the face of horrific cruelty, and we will keep fighting. Libs treated citizens the same during COVID, but are up in arms about illegal immigration. Two-faced, if you ask me. Yeah, luckily nobody asked you for anything because you are a fucking moron. Yeah, dude. Oh, you couldn't get your jalapeno poppers without putting a face diaper on? That's probably the same as like being forcibly removed at gunpoint from this fucking country for no reason other than the fact that you're brown. God, American conservatives are such fucking fat pieces of shit, dude. They are so imaginably, like the fat has just invaded their brain, okay? The Ameroid brain is incomprehensible where it's like, oh, the burger? It's just like when I couldn't get burger. Yeah, dude. Sending your ass to a fucking foreign concentration camp, like outsourcing a fucking foreign slave labor camp because you just don't look the part with no due process whatsoever is exactly like when you walked around and someone maybe once in your shit ass fucking neighborhood told you that you should probably wear a fucking mask because you were coughing in their fucking face. It's exactly the same. You treat the right piece of shit. Every time I see Donald Trump doing tariffs and the egg prices skyrocket, on the one hand, I'm like in awe of you know, how much Americans can just like eat cruelty as long as it's being done by a somewhat charismatic figure that they're sympathetic to, okay? But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, you kind of do deserve not to be able to get your fucking treats. Holy shit. I am not the type of person who's like, I don't care about the American ruling class. My enemy is the American labor force, but god damn, dude, some of you motherfuckers are literally an enemy to all civil liberties. Oh my God. Disgusting little piglets, dude. Squealing. Don't enter illegally. Oh no, Fafo, bye-bye. Deport Hassan. Hassan likes little boys malding, haha. I'm an American citizen, dipshit. If they deport me, you're cooked. Oh my God, is this guy a fucking liberal? What the fuck? I love being an elitist. I think my lucky stars I'm better than the chuds. Shane isn't right wing. They literally can't. Okay. I guess this is just like a liberal who has just become full-blown right wing.
They were all decided because I think Marco Rubio worked this out with the El Salvadorian president to open up their prisons.
What did he say? You support workers' rights, but also support illegals. Don't get the disconnect. Hashtag deport Hassan. Please, admins, please deport this guy. I can't stop watching him. Please, fucking loser.
They cleaned up their country by putting them all in jail. And they said the ones who came into America, we'll take them back. We pay them, but it's going to save us money to put El Salvador, keep them in a complete lockup for at least a year, because we do not have the confidence the Venezuelan will be able to hold them. So a judge decides, wait a second, I don't think you should be able to do the 1798 Act. Turn the plane around.
No way.
Turn the plane around.
No way.
No, we're already out. And in turn, Congressman Brandon Gill of Texas has announced plans to impeach the judge for trying to assert himself in this process. And it's James Boasberg. He wanted a 14-day hold to examine this. Forget it. And okay, Democrats, go ahead. You go stick up for these guys.
You run on this.
You said that
Tell
Barack
that to the
Obama,
nunnery family.
This judge is a Barack Obama
Yes.
appointee. And Donald Trump said, too late. You decided this. They're already out of U.S. airspace. They're flying down to El Salvador now. The migrants are already out of U.S. airspace when that judge ordered the planes to return. And he said the order came too late.
81 illegal aliens also arrested in Kentucky on ICE raids. So we've kicked out about 37,000 illegal aliens with criminal backgrounds and did some type of criminality once they were here. This is exactly what Trump's trying to do.
I just asked the question, Brian, again. Is this, you see these images of these violent criminals that were in our country. Do you guys want to be the party of these folks right here? Do you want to be the party of defending these folks? Something has to also be done. Brandon Gill, he's the youngest Republican in the House, represents my home state of Texas. He's offering these articles of impeachment. I don't think it's unwarranted. You got these federal judges that are acting like activists, trying to make sweeping measures for something that should.
Yeah, let's just put the judges in jail, too, for adjudicating. Why not? Why not? Fuck it. YOLO mode, you know? Full tilt, baby. Put the goddamn judges in prison. Fuck it. That's how it should be. Yeah, judges are aliens, too, now.
That the president has the authority to do.
Right. So think about this. If you're Laken Riley's family and you find out the Democrats and this judge is saying, turn the plane around, bring it back to America, you know how many crimes that they would have perpetrated had President Trump not won the election and led the charge, but Tom Homan, the executor of these plans to get rid of these people right away. So I just think overall it's a great message. This is what they keep telling me. Like Henry Cuellar was the first to say it. It is so valuable to show the world the video of people being turned around. Don't just tell me numbers. Show people being turned around, because it bridges languages. They go, it's not worth it to sell my mud hut and come here with all the money I have to get into America. I'm staying.
So this morning, hundreds of illegal immigrants, some with
my mud hut. Fucking gross racist freaks, dude. Oh my God, I hate these pieces of shit so much.
Gang ties are no longer in the country. The Trump administration deporting them to in El Salvador mega prison. It comes as an Obama-appointed judge temporarily blocks the president from using a wartime act for deportations. White House border czar Tom Homan joins us now. So, Tom, this is a promise made, a promise kept, but it looks like a judge is trying to stop this. Why?
I don't know why. I don't know why any judge would want terrorists returned to the United States. I mean, first of all, the video, what a beautiful thing to see.
It's incredible.
Look, the President Trump, by proclamation, invoked the authorities of the Alien Enemies Act, which he has the right to do, and it's a game changer. And we removed over 200 violent criminals from the United States, just not TDA, but also MS-13. The actions of President Trump made this country safer. Every criminal alien, every criminal public safety threat and national security threat removed from this country makes this country safer. That's what the American voters voted for. That's their mandate to the president. The president's keeping his promise. President Trump's a game changer. The Alien Enemies Act hasn't been used in a long time. And when I watched the video and I saw, and I was involved this week in this whole movement, this is an extraordinary thing what the President Trump is doing to keep his promise to American people to make this country safe again. And he's doing a fabulous job.
So, Tom, I look at this judge. The flights were already in the air, in international waters. How did the judge get involved? Did these immigrants that were in the country illegally, did their lawyers get involved and make a petition to the judge? How did this happen? How did the judge know about the flights being in the air?
Again, information was leaked somehow. I don't quite know how it got leaked, but there was a emergency court hearing on five people that were on schedule to be deported. The judge had a written order that said these 5 people can't be removed right now. It wasn't until this flight was already in international waters, heading down to El Salvador, that the judge made some comment about returning the flights. We're already in international waters. We're outside the borders of the United States. I'm the border czar. Once you're outside the border, you know, it is what it is. But they're in international waters, already on the way south, close to landing. You know what? We did what we had to do. Remove terrorists, significant public safety threats from the United States. By the order, the proclamation by the President of the United States, we did the right thing.
Tom, you say that it was 5 that were on there where this emergency hearing was coming. So why is the judge asking for the entire flight to be returned?
Your guess is as good as mine, Lawrence. You know, you got some radical judge who makes a decision.
This can't happen.
You know, that just defies logic. I mean, who in their right mind, whether you're a judge or not, wants known public... TDA, a recognized terrorist organization, sent here by the Maduro regime to create havoc, to unsettle the United States through the use of fentanyl to kill thousands of Americans, violence to American citizens, raping and murdering young women.
People that have not seen their day in court cannot be decided on by Tom Homan or whoever and be branded as like criminal terrorists and deported. There has to be due process. It's ridiculous.
Women in this country. They are enemies of this country, and President Trump treated them as enemies, and we did exactly what we should have done. Again, President Trump is going to make this country safe again. He's going to do it one illegal alien at a time, and this weekend we did 261.
So Tom, what's next? Because I'm getting a little worried about the manpower. These guys they have to be tired. You got 30 guys in the stack going on different busts every single day. You're going to run out of money. It doesn't look like you're getting support from the Democrats on this. You're going against the judges now. What's next?
Another flight. Another flight every day. The teams are going to be out there every day. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. We made a promise to the American people. The President Trump has made a promise to the American people. We're going to make this country safe again. I wake up every morning loving my job because I work for the greatest president in the history of my life, and we're going to make this country safe again. I'm proud to be a part of this administration. We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
Yeah. I just love seeing you going through these protesters just crunching on the apple as their liberal tears just flood the hallway. Tom Homan, thanks so much for joining the program.
We're so cooked. Hell yeah, dude. That right there is perhaps the greatest demonstration of how these guys operate and why, like, Asmongold's commentary is so successful in comparison to, like, a Ben Shapiro. You just sit there and you say, based, libtards are getting owned. And that's it. I mean, that's Fox News doing the same fucking commentary. That's where we're at. Oh, dude, a severe violation of constitutional norms, like a severe violation of due process, a complete abolition of the judiciary. Fuck it. Who cares? Libs are owned, baby. You got a federal law enforcer saying, I don't give a fuck what judges say to me. I'm going to do I make my own rules.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Is the administration prepared to give the court what it wants in terms of the time of the flights that departed, that went to El Salvador, and some of those details that the judge is asking for in trying to determine the timing? Clearly, the 5 named individuals were not deported in compliance, but looking more broadly, wanting to know about the timing of flights and so forth, because the verbal order did say turn around the flights if there's an issue. So is the administration prepared to provide that information?
I'm prepared to provide it right now. All of the planes that were subject to the written order, the judge's written order, took off before the order was entered in.
The thing that people don't understand is if you can violate someone, if you violate due process because you've decided that this person is non-citizen, that means someone can say you're a non-citizen. You have no protections. Okay? What are you going to do? Go to court? You're not going to court. You can't prove that you're a fucking citizen without due process. But they don't understand that. Like, people are too stupid to recognize that. So dumb.
In the courtroom on Saturday, and the administration will, of course, be happily answering all of those questions that the judge poses in court later today.
And for people who have due process questions about making certain that there wasn't anyone who was swept up who did not meet the criteria that you laid out. Is there a way for the administration to provide more detail about how that was determined, who the individuals were that met this deportation order?
Yes, I can assure the American people that Customs and Border Patrol and ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are sure about the identities of the individuals who were on these planes and the threat that they pose to our homeland. They take this incredibly seriously. They are putting their lives on the line to deport these designated terrorists.
That's not how this works. What do you mean? Some fucking moron without a GED doesn't get to make this choice on their own. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, well, they're sure that these guys are bad. Oh, okay, my bad, dude. Shit. Oh, the Gestapo is sure that these guys are bad? I guess, like, fuck the courts then. That's the question, dumbass. The entire question is where's the evidence? And will you reveal the evidence? And also, simultaneously, why did you not go through the proper process? There's already a proper process in existence for doing deportations. You can't just fucking decide, well, this guy looks weird, he's done. I think he's a terrorist criminal. The question is directed very specifically towards Caroline Leavitt and this administration to be like, hey, kind of weird that, you know, there are some of these guys had court cases, like active court cases, and you just like remove them without a judge seeing whether or not they're actually fucking terrorists
from our country, and they should be trusted to do that. And that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to follow up on that then, so you're saying definitively the administration can prove everyone that was put on those flights to El Salvador was either a member of Tren de Agua, MS-13, or some other entity?
We've already provided the breakdown in the effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported. 137 of those were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 101 of those were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, which, as you know, are just regular immigration proceedings. And 23 of them were MS-13 Salvadorian gang members. There were also 2 MS-13 ringleaders as part of that group of 23 who President Bukele particularly expressed his gratitude for their return so he can demand justice in his home country. Jennifer.
What criteria, though, other than, say, tattoos or maybe being in the wrong place at the wrong time, are they using to determine that someone is actually a member of one of these organizations?
Intelligence and the men and women on the ground in the interior of our country who are finally being allowed to do their jobs. Their hands were tied under the previous administration, and as I said, they take their jobs very seriously. They should be trusted and respected by the American public with this operation. And of course, as I said to Kelly, the administration will provide all details to the questions that the court poses.
Joined now by national political correspondent Steve.
Okay. I need to explain something to you guys. Even if they are literally the most violent criminals you have ever seen in your entire life, you still can't deport them without a court hearing. That is fucking insane. You can't do that because this is not about the individual scary migrant. This is about the entirety of the court system and the reasons for why it exists. You can't trust me, bro, as a fucking means of deportation. That makes no sense. Because if they can do that now for people that they are claiming without any sufficient evidence and no actual court orders, and the only court order basically being the exact opposite, they can do that to anybody. So this conversation that's taking place is not even about like the immediate Venezuelans or the immediate El Salvadorans that were deported. It's even broader than that.
Kornacki here to break down our brand new NBC News poll on the president's first 50-plus days back in office. Always good to see you, Steve. So here we are, 8 weeks in. President Trump, voters responding to some of his policies. What do the numbers tell you about where the president stands right now?
Yeah, it's interesting, Craig. A lot of activity these past 2 months. Here's the approval rating for Donald Trump in our new poll. 47% of voters say they like the job he's doing. Now, put this in some context because I think this is the interesting part. Historically, these are all the modern presidents at this point, after just coming to office. Obama, George W. Bush. You can see at the bottom of the list would be Donald Trump at 47%. So historically speaking, this is low. However, If you compare it to Donald Trump's first term in 2017, this is actually about as good as Trump has done, a 47% approval rating in our poll. Also, what it suggests is that since the election, he hasn't grown his support, but that coalition that elected him still for right now does seem to be with him.
Hasn't lost the support either. What do the numbers tell us, Steve, about what's working for the president and where he may be a little vulnerable?
Yeah, what's keeping that coalition intact and maybe giving an opportunity to grow it? This would be number one. Border security, immigration, majority approval for Trump here, 55%. That goes beyond his base, who like how he's handled this. There's the big issue of the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, Doge, they call it. We ask folks, good idea, bad idea. Plurality say good idea. So those may be working in Trump's favor overall. This isn't. The economy, inflation, two issues obviously that powered him to the White House. His approval rating on the economy, 44%. Inflation, just 42%. Majority.
Dude, this to me shows that these guys are incapable of seeing what's in front of them too. Like his support hasn't even diminished on the issue of the economy, as the economy has continued on the same trajectory, if not gotten worse. And these guys are not like, these guys aren't even being like, yeah, no, things are still bad.
Disapproval on both. And I'll tell you, in his first term, the economy was his one strong suit in polling. And right now, these are some of his worst numbers. Economy, inflation, two very important issues to Americans.
Have Democrats been able to capitalize at all on either one of these, the economy or the inflation?
Yeah, so logic would tell you if something is going south for the president politically.
No, they have not. No, they have not. The part of the problem with what's going on with Trump's approval and how unshakable it seems is because there's no counterbalance against it. There is no response coming from the Democratic establishment that actively communicates why people are feeling this harm and how Trump is fucking their lives over. It's great. Wonderful stuff overall.
It should help his opponents, and yet take a look at this. We ask folks their opinion of each party. It's not great for either one, positive or negative, but holy smokes, look at this, 27-55. They are 28 points, the Democrats, underwater on this, more negative than positive. And put this in context, the history of our NBC poll asking about the two parties. This negative 28 for Democrats is the worst ever recorded, and this is what's happened since the election. It's just fallen off a cliff for them.
The worst ever recorded?
Yes, for a party in our poll. Yep.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch.
It is not surprising that the Democrats are this unpopular. It is, however, surprising that they did not even choose to change trajectory a little bit. Like they did not even fucking turn around and go, hey, maybe we should listen to you know what the left is saying about how much we suck dick. Nope. Time to be more do nothing Dems. They can't even be. Bro, they can't even fake it anymore. Like, at least during the first Trump administration, they faked it. They faked being angry in an effort to, like, fundraise and stuff. Now you can't even get them to fake it. It's crazy. Oh, what? I already finished the thread. There's a Harry Enton on the CNN poll. There's a Harry Enton CNN poll as well on how unpopular the Democrats are.
Say Democrats, call your office. You know, we're March Madness times. Terrible, terrible, terrible. To quote the great Charles Barkley, view Democratic Party favorably. CNN SRS, look at this, 29%. NBC News, you want to go lower than that? How about 27%? Both are record lows. The lowest going back to 1992 in CNN polling, the lowest going back on record to 1990 in NBC News polling. The majority of Americans hold an unfavorable or negative view of the Democratic Party at this point. All I can say is I'm a big fan of the oldies, so I'm going to quote Chubby Checker. How low can you go?
Nice. Well done. With that, what about congressional Democrats specifically?
Yeah, what about congressional Democrats specifically? You think these numbers are low. How about this one? Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove, 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how...
I hate to say I told you so. First of all, Mike, you don't hate to say I told you so. You love saying it. But also, I didn't predict anything opposite of this. Like, yes, I'm familiar with the lack of interest from the Democratic Party. I said that it wasn't going to turn into fucking hashtag resistance liberalism like it did last time. And that, yes, people would honestly be even more frustrated as a consequence of this. The difference that you and I have, the difference in opinion that you and I have on this matter is that I'm not so confident that the Democratic Party is going to give way to a third party at all, and they're going to use whatever like remainder of the infrastructure they have to actively destroy third party initiatives, third party moments. So, I don't think that we're out of this yet. You know, I don't think that we're out of this at all. I don't know. I don't know how we get out of this to begin with, but. Like, yes, I am also aware and said that this was most likely going to happen, and it is happening. The problem is, I don't even know how to get out of this. Like, I don't know how to get out of this situation with or without the Democratic Party. We're fucking cooked. Like, decentralized movements are not always they're not going to be successful. That's one aspect of this conversation. We have... this is like the Democratic Party is weaker than it's ever been. I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to launch a third party initiative. And without any sort of popular momentum from a well-established figure outside of the confines of the existing duopoly that still gets like a warm reception from the pre-existing duopoly, like a Bernie Sanders figure who's entirely too old at this point, the Democrats are... third-party initiatives will be foolhardy and will go the way of the Green Party. In any case, I've been saying this over and over again. Like, the Democrats are slowly but surely refusing to listen to the wishes of the largest subgroup of voters at this point. Like, they're basically treating everyone now like they did during the campaign if you were like in any way, shape, or form anti-genocide, where they were like, la, 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 I don't want to hear you. You're fucking woke. Shut the fuck up, right? That's how they campaigned during the campaign, and that's part of the reason why they fucking lost. Now, they make it seem like these groups that are firmly within the Democratic Party's ecosystem, like these groups that the Democratic Party relies on and their own base of support, like, 65-year-old Debras and Barbaras who are actively saying, please fight back against the Trump administration. We're scared. What the fuck? They're calling them, pro-Palestinian advocates at this point. They're treating them in the same way that they did people who were like understandably angry that the Democrats wouldn't do anything. Like, they are actively shitting on their own base at this point, like the entirety of their base, not even the activist part of their base, not even like the progressive part of their base, not even the young part of their base, the entirety of it. Once you're yelling at like 55-year-old moms and 65-year-old grandmas for telling you like do something, anything against the Trump administration, you're done. You have no support. You have no base support whatsoever. You can't fucking treat every single person like they are climate justice sunrise movement protesters. You shouldn't treat them that way either, but the Democrats have gone far too long mistreating its own base of support, the most active part of their base, and all of these grassroots movements with so much ire, with so much disdain. And now they're doing that to like, liberal ass grandma, MSNBC voters, MSNBC watchers. It's crazy. They are fucking disgusting.
Democratic voters feel, get this, the plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49% and just 40.
Yeah, they want a fighter. Democrats want a fighter. They've always wanted a fighter. Anyone that has told you on television they do not want a fighter, that the Dems actually don't want to fight. They want someone who will capitulate and find the reasonable middle ground is a fucking moron. Democratic voters have always wanted a fighter. There's no better living, breathing, microcosmic example of this than me going on the Pod Johns and basically saying the exact same things that I always say, but in front of an audience that seemingly had never heard this perspective before, where they were like, oh my God, I didn't fucking realize that there was like a different way possible. Like there was you know, there was some different serious commentary, serious criticisms launched against Democrats that I agree with. They were shocked because they've been kept captive almost by MSNBC. It's truly alarming.
Percent approved. Horrible. Oh my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
And this is the number right here really driving all of this. If Democrats have turned, if Democratic voters have turned on Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party, that's what puts the numbers at historic lows.
I was one of those people who didn't know what was possible or what I was missing because no one on the liberal side ever talked about it. Well, I'm glad you're here now. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're seeing that we're not like fucking scary monsters in the way that like liberals actively present us. That's the other side of this. Not the Podjons. They're fine. But there are a lot of like liberal content creators out there, even in independent media on YouTube and whatnot, who basically spend all of their time shitting on people like myself, shitting on people to the left of them. And the reason why they do that is because they want to do poison welling. Okay? I mean, they want to well poison. They want to poison the well. They want to poison the well before you actually ever, on accident, reach my commentary so that whenever you come in here, you don't have any sort of like charitability. You don't have any sort of charitability to the positions that I'm advocating for, and you immediately see me as like a hostile figure. Yeah, well the poison the well. Yeah, I fucked it up. I really appreciate your viewpoint. I always thought some of their takes were weird and weren't as angry as I was at things, and I thought I was just wrong. Poison Wellington.
Lows. What is it they want to be seeing, these voters?
What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, because take a look at the direction of the party. Democratic voters on Democrats in Congress doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at this, 77% should stay principled, even if it means nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. 60.
Like, this is virtually the entirety of the Democratic base of support, like the overwhelming majority, the super majority of the Democratic base of support actively advocating for things that I've been saying and yelling about for fucking years. Get to work, Democrats, right? And the Dems are just going, la, 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 I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Shut the fuck up. The level of disdain and the level of disgust that they have for their entire base, not just like select few parts of their base, but the entirety of their base, is alarming. You work for us, you fucking animals. You work for us. We don't work for you. You work for us. That's why I get so angry at liberals who even come in here now and say, oh, aren't you worried about your decisions now? Kamala would never do this. It's like, dude, you are such a fucking moron. Democracy is not about team sports. You got to vote for one team over the other because the one team is going to be marginally better than the other. That's not how democracy is supposed to work. Democracy is about extracting concessions from your elected representatives. Okay? It's not team sports. What the fuck is wrong with you? The notion that like it's not, they didn't lose on their own merits or lack thereof, and it was actually because the voters failed the party, not the party failed the voters, is so insanely backwards. It's so twisted. It's so fucked up. And these are supposed to be the educated voters who are, who at least statistically have like a college education. They read the newspaper, right? They don't believe in fake news. Like, these are the liberals. And they've destroyed their brain over and over. They're smoothing out their brain by watching too much MSNBC. Holy fuck.
65%. And this 65% is such a difference from where we were in 2017 at this point, when just 33% of Democrats say they should stay principled, compared to 59% who said they want to compromise. Democrats do not want compromise at this point. They want a fighter. They want to go into the ring like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston. They want to take down the Republicans. They do not want this compromise anymore. They want to be more like Republicans, get up to that stage and fight. And right now they feel like their leaders in Congress are simply not doing so. And that is why their approval rating for congressional Democrats is at an all-time low, even among Democrats with more disapproving than approving.
Yeah, it seems that the Senate Democrats, some of them are banking on the idea that there is still a political middle, as it were. We will see. We will see.
We will see if there's a political middle, but at this point, count me skeptical that is at least what the Democratic base wants at this point. It's going to be very interesting, John, to see moving forward whether or not there are any repercussions come 2026, because I bet there may be some coming.
Harry, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Sarah?
I feel like the most shocking part of that was how you dipped down and you were able to get back up without hearing any creaking or cracking. Nice to
Yeah, here. Also, this is the other side of the story. Here, I'm going to give you that too. This is another example of this, hugging the middle, moderation, and hugging and kissing right-wing fascists. It doesn't work. Gavin Newsom wants to be president. Okay. So what did he do? He set up a podcast. He heard that, like, podcasts are so important for winning elections. Guess what, dude? Here's new data on the reaction to Gavin Newsom's new podcast. Favorability amongst liberals has declined from 40% to 30%. While some Republicans agree with the stances, they overwhelmingly viewed him as insincere, calling him fake and pandering. His net favorability went from +4 to a -6 to a 10-point swing in the wrong direction. Only 13% of voters had an improved perception of him, and only 1 in 5 said the podcast made them want to tune in for more. It doesn't even work in the sphere of podcasting. And Democrats are so one note on this, like, let's hug and kiss the middle. Let's find this, like, reasonable moderate between fucking Steve Bannon and Gavin Newsom that they even fail at podcasting. I don't understand what these guys are doing. It feels like they just look to some of the most historically unpopular figures like Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin within the Democratic Party, and they're like, we need to be more like that. Why? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, you're at this point, it's just a podcast, right? It's just a podcast. You want to win an election, don't you? You want to win elections. You want to fucking have a successful podcast. It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever to behave like this, to operate like this. It doesn't make sense at all. Jesus Christ. They're eroding. Looks like Democrats are saying we don't want to hug the middle. New NPC poll shows 2-1 Democratic leaders to fight back, even if it means partisan gridlock. It is funny to me, though. Like, they are at the very least honest, it seems. They are at the very least honest. Like, the Democrats seemingly are intellectually and morally consistent on this, where they're like, yeah, even if my podcast fucking fails, I still don't care. I'm still going to abide by this, like, weird...
These images.
I'm still going to abide by this weird-ass... this weird-ass attitude that there is some semblance of, like if I were to advocate for the moderate middle, like, then magically someday people will come to terms with what I'm doing.
Are one of the reasons that Donald Trump's approval rating is tied with his highest approval rating ever, according to this NBC poll. Look at the numbers. Trump's approval rating is 47%. That's higher. I know that you might say more people disapprove, but that's always the way it is if you ask a Democrat about a Democratic president or a Republican president. But that's a really good number, an approval rating of almost 50%.
And 4 years ago, his first term, he was at 40% at this point. This is so significant. They asked people if we're on the right track in November. 25% said yes. Now they're asking people, are we on the right track as a country? 44% said yes. This is pretty astounding.
But not good when it comes to the Democratic Party right now.
That's the highest.
Dems are partnering with more creators, though some worry about an over-reliance on the same friendly/safe group. Dems are so afraid of doing or saying any wrong thing, said Olivia Giuliana, who has not been invited to any creator events since the election. Who are they going to sign off on? Who are they going to work with? They're trying to do it themselves, too. That's the other side. Dude, that's so funny that fucking Olivia Giuliana is not considered considered safe enough. That's amazing. Oh, that's so awesome. David Pacman. Yeah, Brian Tyler Cohen. David Pacman. The problem is, maybe not David, but, like, Brian is probably fucking actively criticizing them, too. Midas Touch. Midas Touch is, like, a liberal safe territory. I mean, this stuff is so bad, too. Like, this has 100 dude.
All right,
dude,
now that
what the fuck? This also has 128 likes. Like, it's so ass. If you're 800 years old, you should not be making TikToks. I mean, you shouldn't even be in Congress, in my opinion. I'm sorry. This is a collection of 47 content creators and staff are involved in the Democratic Strategic Communications Committee's efforts, said of the party's 47 senators, including 2 independent who caucus with the Democrats. The Senate that Booker chaired is driving the creator-focused work. Booker, an early adopter of Twitter and now a fan of selfie-style videos, said he approached Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Oh, my God. There's 2 categories in my analysis. Whenever I look at the actions of the party, I look at 2 categories. Is this malicious and they are controlled opposition? Or is this because they're fucking stupid? This, to me, is the fucking stupid camp. This is not like malicious controlled opposition camp. This is fucking stupid camp. In most circumstances, it's both, but this is like an entirely fucking stupid camp decision. Like they want to do something, but they're too stupid to figure it out. That's what this is. They want to do something. They saw the podcast popping off. Tried to warn people as much as I fucking could in this entire process. Mainstream media was coming out and interviewing me like, oh, who's the Joe Rogan of the left? You're the Joe Rogan of the left. And I kept saying, you can't podcast your way out of this problem. You can't podcast your way out of this problem. The party has to change its policies. The party has to communicate earnestly about changing people's material conditions for the better. And they were like, okay, nope, we're going to try to podcast our way out of this problem. Good luck. Oh my God. Like, even if you remove politics from the equation and think about this on pure marketing terms, it makes no sense to not try to understand what your audience wants from you. Elon has officially lost the perverts who get scammed by fake Jennifer Aniston accounts constituency. Oh shit.
Elon poor again. MEPA. Or make Elon poor already. MEPA.
Why is this hermit so angry at Elon Musk?
Make Elon poor again. MEPA.
That's amazing. Young Chomsky. Yeah, that's Noam Chomsky. He's also taking note from the Democratic Party's ambitious TikTok-oriented messaging focus and has decided to change the medium in which he presents himself. He's decided to go on TikTok himself and start doing these quippy, short statements. It's cool. Yeah. Booker says he sees his role as SEC chair as encouraging his colleagues to take the energy they'd bring to a town hall and instead put it on a digital platform. Calling the talk the anatomy of virality, he pointed out how Republicans were able to get their message, whether it was Joe Biden tripping or falling or Ted Cruz going on a rant in front of voters while Democrats were not. Oh, normally senators don't film. By the way, look at this. This entire article has clips of the Democrats attempting to do this, and then the analytics right here demonstrate that fucking failure. Okay? It's not that people can't hear you because you're not directly reaching out to them. It's because people don't like your message, because people don't believe you. People don't believe that you have their best interest in mind. And why should they believe that? You spend every fucking election cycle complaining about how people have to vote for you or else all hell will break loose. And when you're in the minority party, you have some tools at your disposal. You have some tools at your disposal to resist against the Trump administration, and you throw those tools aside and you spit on the face of your fucking voters. All you're good for is begging for fucking donations, man. It's disgusting. Why the fuck would people ever defend you? Why would people ever vote for you again? You're so bad. You're so bad at your fucking job. I can't believe that we spend any time on how genuinely awful the Democrats have been pre-election cycle, post-election cycle, when the Trump administration is gutting the administrative state, when they're doing fascist-ass bullshit, violating the last bastion of a constitutional democracy with checks and balances. They're just destroying the judiciary. And Democrats are so incompetent that, like, I have to sit here and be like, do something. Fucking do anything. Oh, my God. While the videos did draw attention from the right, many Democrats, including Congress, questioned whether it was a smart move. Collaborations, cross-posts, and influencer row. Senators participated in a live stream with Pod Save America while opposing the nomination of Office of the Management Budget Director Russell Vaught. And they made videos with creators virtually and in person during the budget vote-orama. House Democrats have also welcomed creators to the Capitol, where they've interviewed lawmakers alongside traditional reporters. In one such instance, at a news conference on Medicaid, a clip of Jasmine Crockett went viral for what her message to Musk would be. Democrats seem to be really leaning into profanity. Yeah. They're doing TikTok dances, dude. Oh, God. They literally didn't understand that people resent that shit, okay? Americans hated nurses doing TikTok dances during COVID. Do you understand? Nurses that were risking their fucking lives every day to make sure that people weren't dying. Americans despise that shit. They literally are like, oh, fuck, why the fuck are you dancing? How dare you dance? It's COVID time and you're over here dancing. Now the one group of people that are the least popular people in America are running around and doing TikTok dances. What the hell are they doing? Yeah, this is a great question. They think Bernie was popular on the internet because he was doing TikTok dances, or was it because he was saying policies young people were excited by? They will never change, man. No, I know. Yeah, Bernie famously is a big TikTok dancer. That's why they like him so much. Bernie's entire existence and his overwhelming popularity across the board, across party lines, unironically destroys this argument in its entirety, but they just cannot fucking admit that, because that would mean admitting ideological defeat. These guys are zealots, okay? They are loyalists. They believe in third-way neoliberalism through and through. That's it. That's the only thing they believe in. They don't care about anything else. They just want to maintain that project. I could scream from the rooftops at every single Democratic representative to just do Bernie. Just fake it. Just do Bernie. Just do Bernie. Just do Bernie. And that's it. Yeah.
Angela
I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept.
I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. Here's to the great Angela Davis.
Sick, man. Sick. You're really cooking with that one. Thank you. Wow, that one banged. When every other person in the caucus is 850 years old, they look at that and they go, well, you know, he's a handsome man. He's a handsome young boy. For the joint session, Democrats brought 40 creators in to meet with more than 150 members. Sully Jessica Wu, an influencer known as Bento Box Queen, who built an audience of millions while making lunch for her daughters, was invited to the Capitol by Chorus, a new collective that supports creators advocating for democratic causes and policies. She's the influencer behind the viral Choose Your Fighter video. That's who made that video? The Choose Your Fighter video? Oh, no. Oh, my God. Oh, no. I don't know anything about this influencer. I know the video that they're talking about. You know what? Let's watch it. Let's watch that fucking video. Let's watch that video. Does anyone have a link to it? Does anyone have a link to it? Oh no, M. HUD. I broke up with Sleep last night and I'm dating Coffee this morning. I appreciate her warmth and stimulating company. Sleep and I broke up. I'm dating Coffee now. She is hot. Sleep and I broke up. I'm dating Coffee now. She is hot. Unfortunately, it happened again. Sleep and I broke up. I'm back with Coffee. I thought I told you. Sleep and I broke up. I'm dating Coffee now. She is hot. I had another fight with Sleep. We broke up again, so I'm back with Coffee now. She is hot. A far, far more worthy love than Coffee. Give me the OG one. Here it is. Oh, yeah. Here. Okay, dude, take a week off, you dumb fuck. You got me. You got me good, dude. Thanks. I should perma you right now, you fucking idiot. Jesus Christ, that shit pisses me off so much. I'm just going to keep running this on repeat. Like, this is the thing that people don't understand. Look. Representative Catherine Clark, House Minority Whip, Massachusetts 5th Congressional District, not into hair dye. I don't care. Nobody cares. Don't try to make these people into fucking influencers. I don't give a fuck. The only reason why people would care about their personal background of these people and like develop parasocial relationships with them is if they like what they're advocating for and believe that they're earnestly on board with making their lives better. That's it. Bernie Sanders. Okay, this one's even worse. 6-month subscriber. Take the perma. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be perma banning every single person that tries the poop sock going forward. Yeah, your poop socks are perma now. Defender attorney, not a morning person. Like, no one. This is aping Trump, to be honest, the liberal version. Him going on talking about whatever the fuck. Yes, but the problem is, there's two problems there. One, Trump is a fucking television personality. He already had an audience. He already had a level of prominence. And he's telegenic. And not only that, but he tapped into the things that he successfully perceived as his base caring about, even if he personally doesn't care about them. You understand? Like he's so actively, he talks about how he talks about trans people all the time now, right? All the fucking time. If you recall, a couple years prior, even when he was running for president in 2016, he was like pro-trans, openly pro-trans. A couple years ago, when he announced his candidacy, he kept saying, yeah, you guys care about trans people a lot. You care about it more than you care about tax cuts. Like, he knows what his base wants, and he responds to it. He gives them what his base wants, even if it's fucking red meat. He'll give his base the red meat that they want. And that creates this cycle where he's both charismatic and telegenic enough, but also simultaneously he's like offering things to his base of support. You cannot create popularity like this. It just doesn't work that way. Okay? It doesn't work that way. You can't just be like, yeah, I'm a Trekkie for AOC. Like, if they did this video, not in this cringe ass way where like it's like a choose your fighter style situation, but instead, if they were like, here, I'm going to introduce you to these congresspersons, and we're going to talk about the top 3 policies that they are going to advocate for the rest of their fucking lives, okay, until the cows come home. This would be a more impactful video. It sounds nerdy, but that's what people care about. Nobody gives a fuck what your favorite TV show is. You know what I mean? Hates balloons. Like, oh man, I hate balloons too. Now I feel so close to this person. Like, that's not how this goes. Play the clip, boss. We disavow. What is this? Is this another poop sock?
Good afternoon, Senator Tillerson.
Okay, well, no, I'm not going to play this again. No one will watch it either? No, you're wrong. Dude, I have 40,000 people in here every fucking day. What are you talking about? Do I talk about like the personalities behind the fucking things? Or do I talk about the policies and their impact on your fucking lives? My own personality or my own parasocial shit comes after. It's secondary to the causes that I advocate for. That's what's most significant. What do you mean? I'm not even a fucking congressperson either. There are living, breathing examples of this, like Bernie Sanders, Claudia Sheinbaum. Got 50K if you told us which House representatives hate balloons. Yeah. Oy, oy, oy. At first, Wu said the response to the fighter video was positive. Feedback focused on girl power, fighting for her audience, which is largely made up of younger women. But then it went to the wrong side. She said she didn't mind, though, because she would like to interview Trump and give him a hug, because I feel like he really needed that growing up. Oh, my God. The only people who think that video is cringy are older people that don't do TikToks, Wu said. Gen Z people in my comments are like, love it. They think it was just another video. They probably even scrolled. They didn't even think twice. Then the message failed. Like, no disrespect to this content creator, okay? No disrespect to this content creator. Like, this is still entirely the fault of the Democratic Party. Going to a safe influencer, safe because they don't fully, they're not fully invested in the American political machine and how to win elections and whatnot. It's their cowardice that is causing them to develop results like this one that come across as insanely cringy to people who do care about this shit. Oh my God. Calm down. David Graeber on the extreme center. People need to understand that this is why they will never learn the lessons you want from them. They only want to win with neoliberalism. 3 minutes.
The kind of politics we have now.
Rest in power, David Graeber on the extreme center.
Where the left is represented by this kind of Obama-Macron-style centrism, where you're both for the market and for bureaucracy at the same time. You know, it's kind of horrible, right? The only possible appeal of that kind of politics is, well, at least they're not Nazis, right? So what they want is the left to be this kind of mishmash of bureaucratic market centrism and the right to be outright fascist. To set the ball rolling in an actual left direction will make that centrism look like utterly unappealing.
Yes.
And friends, sometimes they talk about...
Yes. That's the reason why they're fucking terrified of people like Bernie and why they will never concede to left populism. Because left populism, especially when it is done by an earnest communicator with a lifetime of moving the needle in that direction, a lifetime of advocacy, makes someone like Hillary Clinton look like the morally bankrupt, the morally bankrupt parasite that she is, okay? In the eyes of the constituents, even a constituency that is so, that gets their notes entirely from MSNBC, because that's what the Democratic primary base is. Average people don't go out and vote in the primaries, unfortunately. They don't know that primaries are happening. I know this from fucking door knocking, okay? They just don't know. They don't know that primaries are happening. They don't know that it's important. They like Bernie They just don't even think about voting in the primaries. In the general, on the other hand, a lot more people come out and vote. Base in the primaries is just like the MSNBC watchers, the New York Times readers, the people that take their notes from people that tell them this is the most electable candidate. That's why you have to vote for him. They don't have any interest in policy. They just simply want to defeat the Republicans. They're the Democratic Party loyalists, okay? The diehard people. The people that are now yelling at the Democrats, by the way. That's important to understand. And those guys would 100% lend their support to a Bernie figure. They would 100% lend their support to whoever the fucking Democrat is. They are a lock. They are the definitely going to vote for the Democratic Party base of support. And yet that base consistently votes for a centrist because the centrist TV channels tell them you have to vote for a centrist. The other guy is bad. The other guy is bad. This is at the heart of the problem. The reason why there's so much institutional resentment towards the Bernie Sanders style figure from establishment Democrats is because if anyone was being honest enough, if the media was being honest about this stuff, and they propped up Bernie in the same way they try to make fucking brat happen for Kamala Harris, for example, or even Joe Biden when they claimed that he wasn't fucking brain dead, right? Like the amount of support that he got from mainstream media in general that he even then thought wasn't enough. Like if they did that, okay, if they fucking did that for Bernie, it's over. Why the fuck would anybody vote for the shittier diet version of Bernie? They wouldn't. Just like people actively chose to vote for the real thing with the Republican Party and not the diet version of the Republican Party. This is the problem with centrism. You don't stand for anything, so you fall for everything. And you, at this point, are falling for fascism. You are allowing the administration to completely destroy what remains of like our civil liberties. Even in general, remind 30% of people voted for Kamala, 31% voted for Trump, and 39% didn't vote. And of those who voted, about 50% never heard any Dem messaging seen by Google results after the election. Dem messaging sucks. It's not just that the messaging sucks. It's what the message sucks. The message itself sucks because the policies suck. And the policies suck because these guys are literally fucking zealots. They are market fundamentalists. They have an undying loyalty. They have fealty towards the markets. They have fealty towards neoliberalism. That's it. That is what the problem is. It's fucking nutty how much they truly believe their own shit. They truly believe it, and they don't even care if people find it to be unpopular. They're like, no, that's why we're going to win in the margins by saying we're marginally better than the opposition. We're not fascists. They are. Yeah, the Dems are the free market fedayeen. Absolutely. And the existence of like a real left vision kind of breaks that in the minds of a lot of people where they go, whoa, 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 a better future is possible? Holy shit. You can have a person truly advocate for policies that I think will immediately improve the shitty conditions that I experience on a day-to-day basis. What the hell? That's wild. I like that. Can we get more of that, please? That is the most terrifying prospect for the Democrats. If the Democrats and their base demanded them to actually follow through on these policies and not simply lie to them and say that they're just like marginally better than the Republicans, then they have to actually do work. And doing work for the left party, okay, not saying that the liberals are leftists, but it is the party that is to the left of the Republican Party, which is the far right party, right? But that is the party to the right, would mean doing things that are inherently anti-capitalist. The American left party, being the liberals, the Democratic Party, implies that if they were to actually move policy leftward, they would have to do things that are anti-capitalist. And I don't mean like seize the means of production. I mean anti-capitalist as in against the immediate interests of capital and its short-term profit-seeking behaviors, okay? That's what regulations are. Regulations are inherently anti-capitalist. Regulations and social safety nets are inherently anti-capitalist. Redistributive policies are anti-capitalist. Labor protections are anti-capitalist. Not to say that they are socialist, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying that all of these policies that the Democrats lie about when they want to win your support, those are all inherently against corporate interests. But because they are also backed by the same corporate structure, they cannot fucking actually follow through on those policies. They hate it. That's why they constantly find a rotating villain in the party. That's it. Historically speaking, any sort of initiative that is marginally to the left of what is permitted by American corporations will immediately be destroyed by a member inside of the Democratic Party. This creates chaos within the Democratic Party. Hassan, you need to read more theory. You're right. Instead of explaining to people the American duopoly, I should be talking about how it is a bourgeois system that benefits the capital owners only. And that is precisely the reason why neither of these two parties in the current duopoly structure that we have are not actually going to defend the interests of the working class. Oh, wait, I did do that, actually. I just used simpler terms because I'm not a fucking moron. Shut the fuck up. This is the one thing I'm good at, okay? Why the fuck do you think you know how to do this? Then you do it. Do it on your own. God damn, dude. No, you need to go back to Hegel. You need to explain master-slave dynamics, please. If you can't understand dialectical thought, you can't understand Marxism. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. You fucking nerd. You don't know anything.
The extreme center, and I think that's a fitting phrase. It strikes me that what's called the moderates are the most immoderate people possible. And the reason why they're so uncompromising, I think, is because they realize they don't have a lot of positive arguments. They're not really for anything.
Exactly.
And somebody like Obama, the reason he worked was because he looked like the kind of guy who would have a vision. He acted like a visionary. He had the intonation. He had the way of standing and looking into the distance like he really believed in something. And it shows you something about just how much visionary politics has been killed. It didn't even seem to occur to people to ask what his vision actually was, right? Because it turns out, insofar as he had a vision, his vision was not to have a vision. You know, he believed in pragmatism and compromise and so forth. And that's what the center has been reduced to. It's become this pure set of performative symbols. And at the same time, you get to feel morally superior, which is ultimately what
you are a bad example when you get that mad. You are way too dysregulated. Okay.
what centrism, what liberal centrism is all about, is the ability to feel better than other people. So there is a kind of a symbiosis whereby the right wing pretend to be stupid, like George Bush II sort of perfected this, like I'll act like a yokel, all of the liberals will make fun of me as an idiot, everybody who resents the sort of cultural elite for having monopolized all the good jobs will look at them sneering at me and say, yeah, I bet those guys feel the same way about me as they feel about Bush. I'll vote for Bush. Ha ha ha, stick it to him, right? You know, that shtick, Trump is just doing it in a more extreme version of the same thing. Johnson's doing the same thing. You know, you act like an idiot, the people who are the sort of educated elite make fun of you, and it works. Now, who's really the idiot, right? People keep falling for the same stupid trick over and over and over again. There's a symbiotic relationship between these centrists, who are just sort of sneering elitists, and these guys who are the scam artists who pretend to be yokels, who pretend to be idiots, or pretend to be fascists. They're not even real fascists, they're kind of phony fascists. They are trying to set up a situation where those are the only two viable political choices, because they both feed off and complement one another.
Oh, seems like he's giving too much credit to Trump. He really is an idiot. Yeah, but that works. That works in his favor. Because the smart version of Trump is J.D. Vance. Look at his favorabilities. He sucks. Trump, being an idiot who is good at reading the room, makes him this dangerous figure for an audience as stupid as the American voters, okay? He's stupid. He is relatable despite being a billionaire. Why? Because he behaves in the same exact way that the average American thinks they would behave if they fucking had that much money and power. That's it. In any case, this is where we're at. A Democratic content creator and strategist, Olivia Giuliano, saw a shift in Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' approach after he met with a small group of content creators at the DNC in August. Jeffries sat next to Giuliano during the conversation and took detailed notes as he grilled the group, which also included high-profile political influencers Jack Schlossberg and Carlos Eduardo Espina, about what's driving the conversation online. What concerns? They didn't ask me to fucking be a part of this conversation. I wonder why. Bro, listen, no disrespect to anybody involved, like Jack Schlossberg or Carlos Eduardo Espina. Okay, I think Carlos is good in general. I haven't really seen any of his work, but like, you know, maybe you should listen to a broad, more diverse set of ideas. Okay. He has since upped his engagement on various platforms and made recent appearances. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Here in the office, just finished up a telephone town hall meeting.
I can't even look at this. Oh my God, it's so bad. Senator Chuck Schumer slams Trump and Elon Musk in my interview with him. John Faza, the Gen Z analyst, said that while there's certainly a place for the sort of entrenched Democratic and aligned activists, the ecosystem needs to be broadened to include creators who are typically not talking about politics and might not be aligned with one party or another. She praised the inclusion of more of some non-political creators in this joint session. So here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. I agree. It's not just about immediately political content creators that, like, it's not the Daily Wires of the world that have created this robust right ecosystem. It's actually the Theo Vaughns and the Joe Rogans, even though Joe Rogan is now firmly in the right, and the Nelk boys, even though they're now also firmly in the right. Like when they first started and they were gaining prominence, the Barstools of the world, these places were not a part of the Republican media machine. They were not. Harry Sisson, no disrespect, okay, is a part of the DNC machine in the eyes of the audience. That level, like at any sort of access, giving any sort of access to Harry in that regard is basically the same cycle and the same audience that you are captivating. You're not organically building a movement, okay? There needs to be cross-pollination across apolitical places and apolitical spaces, but there isn't. There is none of that. This one Mason posted of you is better than the entire last 12 months of press from Dems combined. Yeah, this is like this meme in and of itself.
I really think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative.
Okay, get the fuck back to your seat. Get the fuck back to your seat. Women should be seen and not heard. Why are you here frolicking about? Why are you here and not barefoot and pregnant in your home in the kitchen serving your man? Why are you talking to me? Why are you talking to cameras? Are you a witch? Are you a witch? Shoulders uncovered? Frolicking about like a harlot? What is this? Fuck you mean you want Christian nationalism?
I really think
anyway, that's that. I hate this song so much. I think Hope Core edits bang. In any case, this I think is going to be a failure. This is a failure so far. If you want to win support from the youth again, you cannot do stuff like this is. Oh no. Ay, ay, ay.
The ranking Rizzler on appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties. House appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag. We are the bag.
Bro, this is a humiliation ritual. That's crazy. This is a humiliation ritual. We got old white ladies. What the hell is going on, man? Oh my God. This lady should never do this. I'm sorry. You should never do this. This is like elder abuse. What the fuck?
Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, skibbity. So Sigma, man.
It's giving, skibbity. Hey, yo.
Character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative aura points. Basically, the biggest phantom tax on the environment, on your education, and your rights. Big L posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
Someone in the chat said, we're all getting sent to work camps. I mean, I'll be honest, it's probably better than rewatching this video. You know what I mean? Fuck it. Perhaps getting sent to work camps at gunpoint is not worse than having to relive that experience over and over again. Yeah, here is an example of someone. Here's an example of someone doing it.
Como este. Y como este. Y también este comentario.
This is both better TikTok wise and also directly is talking about policies, okay? I suspect that it is about making college tuition free. Snappy Apples 5, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Oh, Ayo, don't pause her. I mean, bro, I don't speak Spanish. What do you want me to do? As about Mahmoud Khalil, see, we were talking about what the Democrats were doing, and I forgot to mention this. I forgot to mention this part of it as well, which is, as about Mahmoud Khalil, Chuck Schumer says nothing about the Trump-Vance admin sending plainclothes agents to detain someone without any clear charge. As about Trump pulling $400 million from Colombia, Schumer doesn't outright disagree with this, says Colombia didn't do enough. This is Chuck Schumer's interview on the New York Times' series, The Interview. This came out yesterday. It was released yesterday in podcast form. And I wanted to take a look at some of the aspects of this because it's like, I mean, it's garbage. It's so bad. I do think that not only is it garbage though, it is so perfectly demonstrative of like where Democratic leadership is at right now in this moment. I've shown you bits and pieces of it so far. Obviously, Chuck Schumer calling Gaza a genocide is anti-Semitic because it makes Israel look bad. Reporter, that's what the UN report calls it. Schumer, the UN is anti-Semitic. I wish I was lying. That's literally what happened here. And it is vicious of the opponents to call this genocide. Criticize it for sure. Say Israel went too far for sure. And you know what it does? It increases anti-Semitism because they're making Israel and the Jewish people look like monsters, which they are not. I will say, it is a word that the UN Special Committee has used. Please, the UN has been anti-Israel, anti-Semitically against Israel. Chuck Schumer saying, as one of the most prominent Jewish opposition leaders in the United States of America against Trump's growing fascist movement, coming out and being like, the UN has been anti-Israel and anti-Semitically against Israel, is literally tying Judaism falsely to the actions of Israel. You're fucking doing it. There's no hope. There's no way to save these motherfuckers, bro. It's over.
The New York Times is one of the most popular publications in the world, and the paper of
Here's
record
Noah
for the
Sampson talking about manufacturing consent for the genocide.
Damn, this guy's good.